Let's see here. All right. But hi, everybody. So we're gonna take a couple minutes to let some people roll in here. I see we already have a couple regulars here. I'll zoom out to the whole stage here. So I see we got Felix. We got I Troll for you. Let's see. We got Zero. Good to see y'all. And and everyone else, if you don't know who I am, my name is Victor. Oh, hey, Elgarden. Good to see you. If you don't know who I am, I'm Victor Gnarly. I am a former visual effects artist for Cartoon Network, particularly the Adult Swim stop motion studios like Shadow Machine, and they would later become Stupid Buddy and split off to make BoJack Horseman. But I worked in puppetry, stop motion, that kind of stuff. So if you have any interest in film or animation or anything like that, you're welcome to invite your friends to the stream and stuff. They won't be able to check out the creation channel, but they'll be able to watch the stream, even if they're not a paid subscriber and stuff. Feel free to invite anybody you like. It is definitely something where we try to collaborate and make things together here. So if you look at your Discord, I'll zoom in here so it's a little easier for you guys to see. If you look at your Discord, you're going to see that you have a bunch of channels here on Midjourney. We're talking on we're talking on the stage right now. But just above that, you have VC Create and VC Text. VC Text is where we are chatting here on the left side of the screen. And VC Create is where we're prompting things here in the middle. So you guys are welcome to prompt whatever you like. It is one of those things where especially if you have a project going on right now, we can collaborate. We can make things together here on the stage here. So I'm excited to see what you guys are getting into. But I'll also be getting into the stuff I do, which is mostly comics nowadays. I also have a Discord server that's focused on character creation and storytelling, particularly fantasy storytelling right now. But it is something where if you pop over to VC Create, you can just start prompting things. And if you do already have say like you have a private server, or maybe you're just DMing the bot directly to make your prompts, or to make your generated imagery, you can actually use the envelope React here. See this little envelope here? If you click that, what's going to happen is the Midjourney bot will send you a job ID. Okay. This only really works on your own prompts. You'll notice that if you try to write /show on a prompt that you don't own, it'll say that you don't own it. But that's how you can move a prompt from one server to another. So I'm going to do that really quick on one of the Sage comic prompts so that you guys can just immediately get started with that. And then we'll dig into the Working for the Weekend comic series that we made together. I say we as in like there's a couple folks who prompted a couple panels here and there, but it was 2 months of labor on my part to put together the comic series. So let's go ahead and grab a couple of prompts from that. So what I'm going to do is I'll show my servers here, and I am going to hop on over to Gnarly Comics. And you'll see that I immediately am jumping to one of my AI channels. There's a lot of channels here. We got a lot of cool things going on here, including like places to submit your characters. We got a Nexus for the fantasy stuff, so you always have your materials. And then we have a new thing that we're working on called the Compendium. It is for sharing source style references and all that stuff. But if you want to bring a prompt over from your private server to the VC Create, the only thing you got to do is click this bad boy up here and then hit that envelope. And what's going to happen is you will get a PM. It'll be at the top of your screen here. Yep, it'll look like this. Okay. And let me just copy that over really quick. There we go. And you can see here that it shows you the job ID and the seed for that particular prompt that you made. So we're just going to copy that job ID. Okay. And I'm going to pop myself over to show servers. And then we're going to go back to Midjourney. And we are already in VC Create here. And yes, I will be getting into your character, AC. That's actually one of the things I want to do with the Chaos Portal. But of course, with the Chaos Portal, of course. But if we do /show, and it says here job ID, we just paste that job ID. And there you go. The prompt will repopulate here, right? So this is a prompt for Fidget, who's one of Sage's 3 cats. And just so you guys have plenty of options here to mess with it, it is essentially the Fidget is here inside of the character reference. You can use all sorts of things as your character reference when using this parameter cref. But we're going to be focusing a lot on 3D a little in a minute as soon as I get through the comic here. But with the style reference, we essentially establish that I want it to look like a Sage comic. And these 3 links here are from previous issues of the Sage series. So I'll basically all I'm going to do is I'll change the premise up a little bit. So it's 3 instead of 3 cats on the blue couch leaning in. I'm going to say playing with a mouse toy. And we'll see what we get there. And then I'm going to say hey to a couple more people who've come in here. Let's hop on over to here. Okay. Oh, hey, Enid. Good to see you. Really smart, of course. Great to see you. It is good to see both of y'all. And I really do want to see the regulars come in here and whatnot and be able to participate, because some of them are incredibly fun to prompt with, because the places you all go, I would have never thought of on my own. And that's part of the fun of what we're doing here today. Oh, hi, Fungi Mancer.
Gifted.
Yeah, they're quite gifted. And they are the ultimate beat boopers. Like that, like it's the tamest way that I describe AI folks to like working artists and stuff is I just call it beat boopers, and it just seems like it just completely de-threatens everything. And compared to just saying I make AI art, like I really don't like the phrase AI art. It bothers me. It's one of those things where I'm like, you know, I'm making the art. Yes. Like I'm making entire comics or pieces or anything like that. It's an iterative process, and the human element is through that iterative process. So that's where the art comes in. The AI didn't have anything to do with that as at least in my definition of art as being a human driven thing. I think it generates images. It doesn't make art, right? So like that's my logic for it. But the whole thing here is that the result that we got off of Fidget here, you'll notice that there is no mouse toy, right? It's just Fidget laying down on various household things. And that has largely to do with the style reference, but also just how much the character reference dominates the results. So here are the style references. We have the first page of the second issue. We have a background, which is not even the final background. I just use it to get general palette and tone. And then one of the pages from the comic, but with all the speech bubbles removed. You're welcome to to save this if you want, like these style references. But what's even better is I am going to give you guys a text document that has everything in it. I'm curious if it'll let me post it in VC text. We'll just have to see. Let's see here. Where are you? There he is. And submit. Yes. Okay, so that works. So if I open up the stage here, you'll notice in VC text that if we expand this text document, we actually have all of the style references and the character prompts that I used for this most recent release of the Sage comics. And that will give you everything you need to recreate what I did, except for like, Adobe Photoshop and all that kind of stuff. This is all Midjourney stuff here. So you're welcome to just take that and do what you will with it. But it lets us be able to kind of maintain a certain consistency of color, line weight, and even composition. Like I want the camera to usually be pretty wide and really exaggerate the perspective, because most comic artists draw everything super flat, and I don't want super flat things. Oh, look at this. Look at this screen. Oh, no, not me. You look at this screen. It is me, though. Okay. So I do like the bottom right one, though. That one's too funny. Bleep bloopers making bleep bloops with bleepy bleeps. That's too funny. Yeah, some of these expressions are just absurd. Like, fun, absurd. But what we want to do is we want to try to get Fidget here to actually be playing with the cat. No, sorry, to be playing with the mouse, okay? And the easiest way to do that is just to simply drop the character weight, because the character weight is so powerful. And we do that with -CW. And let's drop it to something like 20. So at least we'll still get a black cat. It's quite often that if you drop it to 0, it's a very loose inspiration. And since we're talking about a monotone character, like a character that's all one color effectively, that means that if we suddenly get an orange cat or a gray cat or whatever, we have to like basically isolate the eyes or the pink in the ears in order to retain the composition. And that'll make a little more sense here in a minute. But it is good that the more foreign or weird or distant from your character reference the images, the more likely you're going to be dropping that character weight to compensate for. Okay, so we have a mouse. We have 2 mice here, but they're very weird. They're very distorted and stuff. We might want to drop the character weight even more just to kind of guess that. But we also can start to delete style references if we feel like they're becoming counterproductive. Like there's some wonky things happening, some clothes being thrown around that turns to the cat, like that kind of stuff. Usually by swapping parameters out, we can get a better idea of what works, what doesn't, how much things change. We got to be looking mostly for patterns here. That's really what is the secret sauce of this stuff, is being able to say, okay, I'm gonna see what this prompt does 5 times over, 10 times over, and then see why, like what changes, how much varies, how much doesn't vary. But it is something that I oftentimes find myself using the repeat function, which is a very dangerous function if you're on a limited account, so a $10 account or whatever. But just to give you guys an idea of that, I'll do this on I Troll For You's post here. I'm going to re-roll this one, but I'm going to add a repeat of 5. You can go pretty high with this number, which is what makes it dangerous. But if you do 5, it'll do the exact same prompt 5 times, but it asks you to confirm first. So let's just say yes on that. And look, you got a little mouse. Okay, so let's see. It's a cute black cat pressing a mouse to the floor. There you go. Yeah, you gave it more direction, which made it have more intent of the imagery. And it's very funny. Like Fidget is one of the more fun cats to prompt, because he has this sort of like wide-eyed innocence to him. He's like, he doesn't want to kill that mouse. He's just fascinated with it. You know what I mean? Like that's too cute. But you could see here that if we run that prompt 5 times, we start to see patterns. We start to see differences, but we also start to see where it diverges, right? So we're getting a lot of the cat in the center of frame. Okay, for example, which is very common in AI images in general. Like you're gonna have a feature set, which is like the main character or whatever, basically, and then you're gonna have the latent space, or everything that's around it and whatnot. And I say that phrase very layman like. I don't say it with complete accuracy. I have been corrected by people before about like the technical definition of latent space and stuff and whatnot, and I use it very let's just say poetically. I use latent space poetically to teach artists particularly that latent space is like not a physical place you can go. It's like a relationship of things. It's like, okay, what is neighboring this cat? It's hands. It's people petting the cat, right? So then it just tries to put hands in there, things like that. It's basically like a subject relevance, and we could take advantage of that by essentially saying, hey, what's in this latent space? What's in that space? And oftentimes, if we just use words alone, we get this like middle point, almost like mediocrity. That's also why, like, if you just generate a comic on its own, like, we'll just do that really quick. I'll just do a beep boop comic. Sure. Beep boop comic. What's essentially going to happen is it's going to grab like the midpoint of many, like the idea of comics in general. And then I'm going to scramble that entire logic with beep boop in there. But, oh no, what are you guys doing? No. When you combine, you can make furries very easily with character reference. If this is not obvious, by the way. But if we look at here, where's the beep boop comic? Where is it? Okay, it's still generating. There we go. Okay. So the thing about this is that yes, it's very unique and pretty and interesting, right? But notice the diversity amongst all these results. The closest thing we actually have to continuity is the actual beep boop, honestly, because it's giving us this kind of hypercolor sort of like pop to everything. And so that's, now we know that at least if we're asking within like a comic prompt, if we write beep boop, it's probably going to give us kind of a who's that diva. It's like a diva character from Overwatch, right? It basically just makes a very J-pop looking character. That is a pattern that we can basically take advantage of. And even like this, like you see that we found a cat here. It is unlike the others, but it definitely has that flat tone, that flat comic background to it. So let's try to do a variation subtle on this. And we can actually add the cat using our the character sheets we have here. So let me zoom out of here. You can see that I posted that text document for you guys right here. And the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the gray cat here, Thumper. Copy that and paste his link here. Okay. And I'm just going to say hungry cat. And this is just a variation subtle, so the lady is going to change as well. If we did this as an in paint and only focused on this cat, we could just change this cat. So like if you really, really like the main character or the human representation here, then you can essentially just in paint this instead of doing a variation. There we go. So you can see it definitely broke. It definitely broke. We got some really wacky stuff that isn't good. But if we do a variation strong, however, it will make a lot more sense, but it will lose the composition. It'll lose those panels and where they are. That guy, they're giving that cat a shower on the bottom left here. That's funny. Oh, hi, Rhapsody. Good to see you. Thanks for coming. And I know you're on a phone call now, but I appreciate that. Why are you two different Rhapsodies? I'll see that later. Let's see what's going on back here. We have some pretty fun results just from that the remix subtle from Legal Beagle here. But okay, all right. So let's get into the Sage comic, and then after that, we're gonna get into some 3D. We're gonna particularly the thing I'm excited to show you guys here today is how to do extremely expensive 3D rendering for very cheap with AI. Like it's ridiculously cheap to do a combination approach to this stuff. I do like this cat in the long outfit though. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna up-res that one. And the reason I'm up-resing it is because look at the little kitty in the water. Oh, yes. Anytime cats are causing mischief, I love it. And we'll be featuring plenty of that in the Sage comics. But look at this. Look how I made the tail popping out of the shirt. And it even gave it little tears and stuff. That's amazing. I love it. So tea time. Let's drop ourselves to the bottom here. It's super cool. Hey Meeful, good to see you. Okay, let's get in here really quick. So the eyebrows for sure. Rio. Let's see here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna load up the comic here and let you guys kind of take a look at that. It did much better on Instagram. But in order to view it properly, I'm going to pull it up on Reddit here. The reason why it did well on Instagram versus Reddit, I know that there's going to be some people here who want to make comics, that want to, make content online and all that stuff. The reason why this comic didn't do very well on Reddit is because it's the tail end of a 4-part series. You have to have that context of what came before it in order to really enjoy it. Even then, people really dug it. Like there was some people that are like, I have no idea what's going on, but I really like the art, and I really like Vicky particularly, which I just thought was hilarious because every review I gave of it was basically saying, man, Vicky is kind of an awful person, and I'm like, well, not awful, just a bit of a bully, right? So you'll see what I mean here in a minute, but we have, let me actually pull up the correct issue here. Okay, there we go. Boop. Okay. So I'm going to shrink this down just a little bit, and let me move this down just so that you guys can see the full pages without them cut off. So take this, drop that down. That'll work. It should be fine. So essentially, this comic here is probably my most technically advanced comic I've made yet. Every issue of this series, Working for the Weekend, has been mostly just me pushing the envelope by constantly style referencing the previous issues. So this is part 4. The only thing you really need to know before I really get into this is that Sage has listened to 3 other messages on her voicemail, and her mother is the 3rd message, and she's just surprised everybody with her arrival. Her release issue was definitely fun. A lot of Redditors really like Destiny, Sage's mother, who's here on the top left. So as we go through the comic, though, you're going to see that I am incorporating a couple different tools, but I'm also, relying super heavily on my previous work, like the door in the back there. That's just from my previous comics. So it's incredibly important that you save everything when it comes to the actual project files and stuff that you're doing, because what's going to happen is that you're going to want to be resourceful. And if you have the same camera angle, or maybe a slightly different one, but it's from the same perspective, why not just use that same asset? You don't need to regenerate that door, redraw that door, or whatever. There is supposed to be a potted plant next to the door that Sage is quote unquote conveniently covering up, but understand that's done with intention, because otherwise you'd be distracted by this weird green thing behind her green shirt. We have to remove the reality of that in order to tell stories in a dynamic way. So the number one tip I can give you is to just remember that it's a cartoon. Things can move and shift around. The Simpsons family home is impossible. It's impossibly shaped. The layout of it doesn't make any sense. Over time, because of 3D and other things, they kind of buckled down on certain parts of the house. But you talk about the first 10 seasons of Simpsons, they did not care at all. And that was when it was at its best, because they were just having fun and doing it right and making, animations and stuff. And I say fun, it's actually oftentimes when you're animating, it's quite miserable. Like it's very long hours in front of a computer, or back then it would have been a mix of things. In papercraft, there was working on cells and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I am. I don't envy them, but at the same time, it was so much better looking when they just had to, when they made mistakes, but when they also like filled in gaps and things with by just removing stuff, by making things look better for the audience. So the audience doesn't need to be distracted or know that there is a plant behind there. Who cares, right? The thing is that as we go on with this issue here, you're going to notice that some assets don't look generated at all. Like and I say look generated, there's no real tells anymore, but the actual answering machine, the only thing that's generated about it is the wood grain texture on it. Everything else is basically me using the distort function in Adobe, like Adobe Photoshop, in order to fake a 3D box. I knew that I didn't need to import this into a 3D program because it's just a box. Like I can reshape a box to any perspective and it's going to look fine. The issue is that when you start to look at this box from other angles, you will start to see that like the knobs and switches and things like that, they don't distort with basically what I'm saying is that you have to do a little bit of manual fudging or cleaning up in order to make things look like they belong in that perspective. So for the answering machine in this issue, it's mostly fine, but there is one where I went in and just heavily cleaned things up, and it's on this previous one here. You can't really see it too well on this, but the answering machine actually has these little soft bevels that represent different components inside the answering machine. That's done just to make it feel less boxy and empty of a shape. It makes it look like this panel can lift up and reveal the tape deck that's inside of it, that kind of stuff, right? So keeping that all in mind, I basically constructed everything with a sort of like start with the characters. I make sure my interactions are great. Like I really want to have the characters feel like I just want to be able to not have to completely redraw them just to evoke the thought or the script that I have. All my scripts are also pre-written, so I'm not actually getting into like at least I get accused of using ChatGPT a lot because I lean a lot on absurdism, and I'm like, that's the reason I lean on absurdism. And ChatGPT is terrible at it. Like there's maybe one in a blue moon joke that's actually funny from ChatGPT. Okay, in my definition of funny has to do with like awkwardness and cringiness and like uncomfortable moments. And this like oops butterfingers like kind of reaction from Destiny, right? This is not something that would be a generated moment. This was me, asking for her, waving her fingers in the air, particularly doing jazz hands. I think my prompt for this one was jazz hands. And I essentially had it be that when the only thing I had to add for this really was I had to enlarge her ear a little bit, so her ear is a little bigger than it was in the original generated image. I had to add Fern, who's the plant, the fern that hangs. It had to hang on her elbow because she's holding it throughout the entire comic here. So I needed to make sense to where both hands are moving like that. So what I ended up doing here was in the oops panel, I had it like she pushed it like it's being pushed up by the table, like by the countertop that she's leaning against. And it ends up at her elbow like that. And the outfit's a little long. Like I could have shortened the sleeve up pretty good and it would have been a little more accurate to the character, but it doesn't matter. I'm very happy with this. I think this looks great. The background's fully generated as well. That was just by taking different my main background and asking for different angles and different perspectives of this. And we could even draw with image prompts the actual shape of the window in order to evoke that as well. So I'll probably get into some of that a little later because that involves the 3D stuff. And then on this next panel here, this is This one was a lot of fun because I actually completely drew Vicky in this one. Like I was like not getting good chicken anthropomorphic Vickies like I was expecting. So I just drew her. I just was like, you know what? That beak mouth, like it was a suggestion from my wife that she should like actually have a beak and instead of just parroting the idea of a parrot on your shoulder, the fact that she has a little beak mouth here is pretty fun. But the key thing here, and this is something I don't think anyone else noticed, except for maybe two people on Instagram, right? Is that it's not going to let me zoom in. Okay, but on this page here, when Vern here, who's Sage's dad in the series, the plant. Yes, Sage's father is portrayed by a plant here. Vern is reacting just like they are to this loud noise coming from the answering machine. It has the little emotes and stuff on it and is constantly reacting with the girls. And the reason why that is because Vern is a puppet. Every one of those ferns is actually a manipulable arm that I can. You'll see later that I'm heavily manipulating Vern as just like any of these other characters. So with this one here, we actually introduced the first part of the 3D that I incorporated for this comic, and we'll be getting into the actual 3D program after this comic. But it's the phone booth. I had generated a bunch of phone booths, and the consistency wasn't really too big of a deal. Like I was like, okay, no, I everyone's gonna get that that's a phone booth, but the thing is, they weren't going to get that it was a New York phone booth, like specifically from New York City in the 90s, because all my comics are set 30 years in the past. So the thing about this is like, I needed a very specific phone booth, right? And so I decided to actually just buy a 3D model. I bought one from a guy named Occam's Razor on Turbo Squid. And yeah, it's great. Let me see if I can. I should not do it in this window. Hold on a second. Turbo Squid. Yeah, it's here. So this was the 3D model that I purchased for $20. And it gave me everything I needed to recreate the phone booth. But you'll notice that this is like very textured. It has all these reflections and all that stuff on there. Today, I'm going to teach you guys how to do that, like how to incorporate this into your generative workflow, but also how to make this look even better by doing a generative pass on it afterward. So this was everything I needed in order to in order to have a payphone from the 90s in my comic super reliably. But the other reason I did this was because it establishes the perspective extremely for the audience. Said a little better. You notice how the angle is slightly low and pointed upward a bit for the phone booth here. That actually dictates the actual direction of the perspective lines for the character acting here. I wanted it to feel like Michael is a little bit, domineering, a little like he's like, oh, you pissed me off. So he's like kind of looking down at her and back as well, and conveying all that is can oftentimes be like a little tricky. But I'm using the 3D model to actually ground myself, but also to ground the 3D background as well. So if I say like Gen Fill in Photoshop, it will see the perspective of the phone booth and go, okay, it needs to match, it needs to complement that. It's already in the canvas. Let's do that. And yeah, it's certainly true that when it comes to like the angles and stuff for this, I heavily am relying on the phone booth to actually dictate the backgrounds for this. So that's might be why it looks a little different than normal. And Gloomy, I see Gloomy made a comment here. New York City. Yep. So I all my comics are set in 30 years in the past. This series was set on April 1st, 1994. And the the thing about that is the real reason I did it is because it's far back enough that people won't be like, oh, this is an old comic, but it's new enough that people will still remember moments from it. So it's, yeah, I'm balancing this sort of expectation of like, oh, okay, I see today's date, but it says 1994. But if I see today's date and it says that it's 10 years in the past or 15 years in the past, there's a good chance that somebody would go, oh, that's just a web comic from the late 2000s or whatever. And yeah, no. Like I don't want people to make that mistake. So I went even farther back to the early 90s. And I have a couple connections to New York City. Not a ton of them, but my mother used to work for IBM. And so there's a lot of personal relation that I have had to the IBM building, the 590 Madison Avenue building. So it's centered to my comics. Like I am enjoying having these characters kind of reliving my own childhood perspective of the IBM building and the offices inside of it. So there's some absurdity related to that as well. But let's see. We got a couple of comments here. I see I got pinged in something. Let's see. We have from Rhapsody. I remember trying to sell some of my first 3D models on Turbo Squid. Well, I gave that guy $20, so I bet he's pretty happy today. Or earlier in this week. Zero said 1990s, 30 years in the past. Wow, that unexpectedly hurt a lot. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is certainly true that I am purposely poking that bear like super hard. Because there's a South Park episode that talks about nostalgia berries and how like the media is all over them and stuff. It's the reason why we keep seeing, the same remakes again and again and again is because they make more money. The original media doesn't make a lot of money. So the fact that we can all make original media now is like a huge reason why I am all about generative imagery. It means that we can finally break out of this corporate money skill, like I'm going to be frank, shithole about all this stuff, all the capitalist awful stuff that goes on. But like, okay, we could make a great movie, but we need to make money, so it's going to be crap. And everyone knows that a movie is crap when they make it. Like there's very, very, very few delusional people like that. Like the guy from The Room or whatever. Like that, they are far and few between. Usually, people know when they're holding a turd. And so like they do that because they're being paid to hold the turd. Like that's really what it comes down to. So when you talk about making your passion projects, you would normally have to sign on to doing anywhere from 1 to 5 films for a major studio before you're ever given a budget to just make your own movie, right? That's the modern way things happen, and it's awful. I like it, it's just awful. So being able to just make our own stuff right away, awesome. I'm all about it. I would much rather do that than the stupidity of having to work with motion picture studios. So the last comment here is, if the Pace Salsa commercial is from the 90s, you should reference it. Okay. I'll have to look into that, Kinky, for sure. Okay, so let's finish up the comic here, and then we'll get into the 3D part of this. So all the reactions here are actually generated except for Vicky's lips. I wanted Vicky to have kind of more like a doughy face here at times. So like almost all of Vicky's expressions, except for this bottom right one here, are drawn or at least heavily painted over. And then so we'll go on to the next page here. This is the one where it featured the cats in the background that I know that people tend to like gravitate towards the cats in this comic series. It just, I have to have them as like a quota for me at this point. If the cats aren't in there, my comics don't do well. So Vicky going bark, 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 bark. I wanted it to be that the cats are just hearing the chicken sounds and going like, huh? What? And so I was really leaning on the idea of of that's the moment for the audience. Really, is just it's translating across the phone, all the way to animals and whatnot. That Vicky's being obnoxious and silly, like this. So yeah, lots of chicken antics from here. The main thing, again, I'm using the phone booth to depict the perspective of my, of the images that I'm using for the backgrounds. So it's a lot easier for me to go, okay, this works, this doesn't, or whatever. Because if it's not in perspective to the phone booth, then I could just keep going around, or I can manipulate the phone booth to be in perspective of the background, which is what I did actually on the last page. But you could see that Vicky is a result of basically me asking for putting your hands in your armpits and waving them up and down. But I actually drew the image prompt for Vicky acting like a jackass behind Michael here. So I'm going to pull that up for you guys really quick. Just a moment. Let's see here. All right. So this is one of my infographics that I put together. This one was for Reddit. And so I'm going to see if it's going to let me. I don't think it's going to let me post. Yeah, it won't let me post inside of VC. I could post a link to it, though, I think. VC text. Yes. Okay. So so if I actually pull this up here inside of VC text for you guys, I've sent you all the kind of explainer for this comic. It includes also me being a little bit of a smart ass to any potential Redditor that tries to tell me that this is fully generated. This is also the reason, by the way, the comic didn't do well on Reddit, but it did great on Instagram. Reddit works with engagement much more in terms of like negative and positive engagement. If I would not have included this tutorial at the very beginning of me posting the comic, most likely there would have been people arguing about the fact that some of it or most of it was AI generated. Okay. That argument of people going, it's AI. No, it's not. Oh, and then they just start bickering back and forth. That's considered positive engagement, no matter the context of it, according to Reddit. So I kind of shot myself in the foot by posting this super, super early, when I really could have like allowed for there to be this like misinformed argument. But I hate it. I really do hate it when I see people doing that. Like when I see people like purposely misrepresenting what I'm doing and saying that I just clicked a button to make it. That's very, very, very much not the truth. And frankly, there's plenty of stuff to argue and talk about when it comes to like AI right now that is legitimate. Like there's legitimate concerns and things that we have to work out, but we're not going to address them if we keep saying lies about it, right? If we keep saying that everything is generated at a click, when in fact what we're doing is we're generating things with image prompts. So I have plenty of experience drawing with just thumbnails and making small doodles and sketches and comics and things like that. So it's not hard for me to just pull out this tablet. It's a Huion 13 or whatever, to pull out this tablet and just doodle a quick little outline of Vicky here being obnoxious chicken lady. And we see what the initial result of it is, where her hands are largely disappeared or not at all in the right places. So in order to fix that, the only thing I really did was pick the one that was closest to my intention, which is the top left here, and do variation subtle, but I'm removing the sketch when I do that. So you can see it as an example here. We start with the image prompt. At the start of the prompt, we have our descriptor, like what our direction is the words inside of the prompt. So we don't want to use proper names. We don't want to use anything that's going to really manipulate the composition or the aesthetics of the image. We just want to manipulate the hand and the face touching, the intention here. And then lastly, the character references all those links that you see here. And you can see each one of those links represents one of the pictures here on the bottom left corner. By combining all of this, you essentially get a hand being put in Vicky's face. And then we just in paint until we are able to make, the intention fully realized. This is one of the more exciting ways to use AI, but it's also one of the least accessible, because you at the very least need to know how to draw basic compositions and shapes in order to really take full advantage of this. So it's not the fact that I couldn't get Vicky with her hands in her armpits without this image. That's not the point. The point is that I have a very clean version of Vicky now with a white background, and I never had to mention white background. I never had to mention that she's wearing a business suit. I had never had to mention that all these things. Every time you add words or phrases to your prompt, you're adding more potentiality to it. Basically, where it can go wildly, whatever. Now, because I've drawn at all my intention in there, it's seeing all the negative space that is around Vicky here and preserving that negative space. That's actually more important than anything else, because what we're doing is we're essentially locking her to her silhouette. And everything's about silhouettes when you talk about animation, cartooning, whatever. Cartooning is a lot about representation of minimalism. But when we talk about especially character design, it's all about silhouettes. So the silhouette, the negative space that is inside of this image prompt, matters just as much, if not even more, than the actual drawing that I did, because a good representation of that is the tie. I draw all the working characters as wearing ties because I do it out of habit, but Vicky actually doesn't wear a tie. Vicky is rather more traditionally feminine than Sage is, and so it corrected that for me. By the way, it removed the tie on all 4 results and instead focused it on the negative space. And so I hope you guys are as excited or as fascinated with these results as I am, because if you've been running Midjourney images for a while, the variety is probably the thing that makes you go, this is amazing. And then this is really frustrating when it comes to actually trying to make something, right? When it comes to actually trying to get 3, 4, 5 panels to line up with each other, you'll realize that style variation really jars you, really makes it obvious that it's AI, that what you're doing. My comics don't tend to do that, and they keep diverging farther and farther away from that quote unquote AI image look or whatever, that generated look, because I'm not relying on that anymore. I'm not relying on just beep, boop, beep, beep, beep in order to make my stuff. I'm actively drawing a lot of parts of this, as well as the paint overs that go in afterward. All right. So I hope that was helpful in terms of understanding some of the more nitty gritty side of what we're doing. But if I now look at here, okay, Rhapsody said, the thing is with this comic is Vicky is basically me when I was in school. Making weird noises when somebody was on the phone was fun. Oh, it also doesn't help that it's a bird. You know what I mean? I know that I'm leaning in on the 90s, it was taboo to call women chicks, obviously, but I'm leaning on birds. I am leaning on birds. So Rhapsody, maybe you're a bit of a subconscious inspo for that in that regard, but it is quite funny though that you would say that. That's funny. All right, Meeful said, question: when you say negative space, are you referring to the white space? Yes, I am actually. And you might think, oh, okay, it's a white canvas. You only have the black lines, and it's not even solid. There's a gap opening under, right at the base of her shirt. It opens up to all the other white space around her. That doesn't matter. Think about what your brain does when you look at this image, right? It's not even that good. My wrists are like noodles, and they're and it would hurt. It would hurt to put your hands like this. But my wife did this, and she put her arms by her boobs, right, and was just doing this pose. And I was laughing because she was like, "This is actually more comfortable than putting it in the armpits." And I was like, "Okay, that all works. This all works." But the thing about this image is that the negative space is the interpretation of what the white around the character is. It's a silhouette. It's a shape. If you just went with a silhouette, there's a very good chance, if it was literally just a black outfit kind of like done in like that, or sorry, not outfit, but like a black shape you would lose the hands, you would lose the shirt shape. It would be a form of like pareidolia for Midjourney, where it's interpreting what's that shadow, what's that shape. I'm not allowing for almost any of that in this image at all. All of Midjourney's pareidolia is I'm removing because I have taken out all of the negative space. I've taken out all of the positive space. That the black shadowy mystery is removed. So it helps give more definitive results, but you'll notice that the initial result is kind of like a midpoint on that. It's like it's sketchy. It's not exactly right, but there's so much detail that comes in from the character reference, especially in the face. So by removing the image prompt, but see the link that I have in red here, if you do a variation subtle and then remove that link, what's going to happen is you're going to get like essentially a cleaned up version of that original image, as long as it's a variation subtle. Okay. And the emotional fern, yes. Catching up with you guys here is half the fun for me because I go on my tangents. I ramble on about things and whatnot, but I get to come back and just see like Vicky having a great time, or Vern, just a potted plant. You know what I mean? Like this, it's too funny to me. Yes, thank you for all these chicken Vickies. This is great. Okay, getting back into it though. So we got bark, and then the whole thing from here. This is actually the panel that I know that I'm not going to stay on this panel too long because it's a little risque and stuff like that. But this is really where Vicky's Chickies. There you go. That's great. There's also a song from Fairly Odd Parents called Icky Vicky. That I did have one of my friends go, "Oh, what do you call the comic Icky Vicky?" And I'm like, Fairly Odd Parents is from like 2001, the earliest. Like I cannot go with an early 2000s song as the title. I just can't do it. It has to be something from the 90s. So Nirvana, Come As You Are is perfect for this line here. So in the Instagram post, I actually have Nirvana playing in the background. But this is a super not fun fact, but the comic is set on April 1st, 1994. Kurt Cobain would die 3 days later. So I wanted it to be like this kind of like, when we go back to April 1st, 1994 in the future, I want to address Kurt Cobain's death at some point. It was such a big thing for me growing up. My sister was a huge Nirvana fan. So I remember my sister locked up in her bedroom for 5 days, miserable, crying, because, one of her favorite musicians just suddenly disappeared one day. So yeah, yeah, Kinky, you were too. Oh yeah, I bet there's just an outcry when that happened. And also,
I was so mad at life when that happened.
You're probably mad at Courtney Love too.
Oh yeah. Eventually, kind of turned on that, but then I don't know. I keep flip flopping with her, but yes, I was absolutely furious that happened, and like every fiber of my being was crying and screaming.
Yeah, I bet. It's like Beatlemania if one of the Beatles had just died. You know what I mean? Like John Lennon, yeah, sure. He would eventually pass away from a gunman, but like it's kind of a completely different story when you talk about Nirvana, because Nirvana was like at the height of their popularity. Like yeah. Anyway, I'll move on from this subject. But the thing is that the Take Care Star Child panel where Vicky's being like literally thrown into the phone booth here. This was so much fun for me. I had way too much fun making this panel. All the little motion lines and all this stuff like that. That's all drawn by me. I'm just having fun with it. The phone booth line, by the way, the actual line that goes from the corded line, that is all drawn because I really wanted to do it. I could have generated it, but I really, really wanted to do it because I wanted to feel like a lasso that like kind of whips around and does all the like. For me, the motion lines are some of the most fun. Like any sort of action scene, I tend to draw it more often than generate it because I have a very specific idea. but I'm oftentimes inspired by the generated imagery. So this result here is actually Vicky lying on the floor, right? So it was just the perspective and whatnot that made me think that, oh, she's being thrown into something. So I leaned on that, this whole result here. So moving on though, this was the only part of the script that was improv. It was because I got a result of Destiny looking at Sage, and it I literally was like laughing at the idea of being looked at like that after an immediately kind of uncomfortable, intimate moment. I was just laughing at this idea of being stared at like this. And then when I went back on some previous versions of Sage that I had made, "Don't look at me like that" was an entirely improv of like me going, like thinking of being in Sage's shoes and go, "Don't look at me like that. Don't do no, absolutely not." Like that's how I'm thinking in my head when I saw this moment. So this is all improv. This is actually more from Midjourney than it is from me in that regard. I'm very inspired by that. But what is entirely drawn is the no, absolutely not. We're not going out to dinner. That is written for me ahead of time. But it's the hands moving, like shifting left and right really fast. That actually, that's all hand drawn. That's me going, okay, the left and right arms are splayed out in the generated image, and I am just going to draw these mid hands that move in between and whatnot. I will say that my wife was like, "Are you doing a Mortal Kombat joke?" Because like it's 4 arms, and she didn't see I didn't draw the motion lines yet, so it just looked like it was like I forgot the name of the guy from what is it from Mortal Kombat. But yeah, she was laughing at that for a moment at the idea of like, okay, there's a bunch of arms coming out of really silly places of Sage here. So I'm leaning in on that quite hard with this. I use the motion lines to kind of cover up a little bit of the awkward placement of where the arms go. If you see it without the motion lines, it's a little more obvious of what I'm talking about. But anyway, I'll move on from here. The main thing is that's all drawn because I basically was like, I see the hands splayed out left to right. I really want to evoke her going, no, and waving her arms. And the thing is if I would have done motion lines all the way from the left hand all the way to the right hand, it would have looked like she was crossing her arms. And I didn't really want to evoke that. I wanted her to be like, no. So that's bringing your hands to the center and then pulling it out. You guys can't see me emoting this, but like in real life or whatever, but like I wanted it to be bringing hands to center and then pushing out. If I would have done it with motion lines going all the way and basically in a half circle around her, it would have looked like she's completely cross-arming herself and then coming back. These little teeny decisions are what make the representative cartooning motion stuff really, really sell. So that's my little tidbit on that. I draw all that stuff traditionally. And this is the final panel. It is something that I'm particularly proud of. I got asked, by a couple people actually about how I did this. I did make a GIF that will illustrate like a timeline of this, of basically like the process for this. But we start by building image prompts. We start by building the scene in a very loose way in Midjourney, and then ask Midjourney to interpret that scene that we've constructed inside of Midjourney. And that gives us a nice big long text of word-only prompts to be able to start as a foundation for a cleaned up version of it. And so I'll get into all that probably later. It is a depending on time kind of thing for this. So the main bit that I wanted to sell here was the jump in logic that goes in from the sparkling or flatline. That means that it's implied for the audience that Destiny had already explained to the waiter that Vern is a man, like is somebody. It basically that Vern the plant is a person. She treats Vern as a person, has conversations with Vern, like that kind of thing. I wanted that awkwardness to be palpable, right, in this. So this is her just having a normal conversation and continuing on with her little rant about Vern as her husband, but it's a plant, and the waiter is just kind of evoking that, like, I gotta be normal about this because I don't want to cause a scene or whatever. And Michael kind of feels the same way. Vicky finds the whole thing hilarious, and she mostly finds it funny because of Sage's reaction here. All of that was planned. All of it was planned. So this is just an amazing sort of like culmination of expectation versus results, right? Because I told you guys 6 weeks ago that we were going to end this at a restaurant. Okay. That may not sound like a lot, but with the amount of divergence that can happen with AI imagery, that's a winner in my book, that we got all the way to the restaurant and we're good. But it's kind of funny that Rhapsody brings up here that that Vern is an amazing character. The funny thing about Vern is that he is a character. Like he's a character reference. I have a full character reference for Vern. So you've probably been seeing Vern popping up inside of VC Create here. And like that's just describing him. A fern plant on a white background. That's why it has a regular potted plant, like a regular Home Depot pot on there. But if I go to the character reference for Vern, okay, which I believe Legal Beagle Legal Beagle is just using that plant, the Home Depot pot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up that text document because I have Vern inside of there. Here we go. Expand this. And oops, I did not mean to go to a random general channel. Hold on a second. VC text, scroll back up, expand, and then find Vern. So Vern is right here. You'll notice that it's kind of cut off. So I just kind of scroll to the right until it stops. Copy that. And the thing about Vern is that, like if I just prompt him here, so let's just say holding an ice cream cone, and then I prompt him. The thing about Vern, especially with Niji, actually, I'll turn on Niji for this as well. The thing about Vern is that it does a really good job representing that I don't want a person in the frame. Like there's no face. There's no face at all for Vern. I just want the focus to be the plant, right? So look what it does. The character reference will try to make it a person like somewhere in the frame usually, but it blanks out the face because there's no face. This happened also with the Phantasmo results, where we were taking a city, like a castle, and then turning that into a character reference. Same thing happened with that, where the face is blanked out, and we got a almost like a no face out of it. But we got the subject matter, which is the plant. And so I was using him as a CRF for all sorts of silly stuff. One of my favorite prompts is holding a Glock. And there is an image of Vern here that I have to pull up for you guys because I showed it once before. But I believe it is inside the Chaos portal for Destiny. So I'm going to grab that really quick for you guys. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, when it comes to this, I do have a server, and you can find it in VC text. It's been linked already, but essentially it's called Gnarly Comics. We used to be called Movie Machine, but I don't really do a lot of video stuff right now. So it's mostly comics. So I renamed it to Gnarly Comics. We might rename it to Gnarly Studios. We might, but the main thing is that inside of my server here, there is something called the Chaos Portal. And the Chaos Portal is where we actually have all of your characters saved. Okay, thank you so much for linking that, Kinky. Here we have where you could submit your characters and see them show up inside of my comics. So it is something that we recommend that you check out some of the other submissions first, just to get an idea of what works and what doesn't. You can watch my previous streams on YouTube or ask questions here on the server just to kind of get an idea of what you need to do this. But generally speaking, we'll be making character sheets. And the character sheets are just the character at a bunch of different poses, different angles and such. So, this is a pretty thorough, different examples of a knife being held by Blobby here, which is a pink slime. But what I'm going to look for here is actually, if I scroll up here and then I write Destiny, okay, we get Destiny Starchild. That's her Chaos Portal submission. And this is the reason I bring it up, is because I did this prompt holding a Glock, and it's one of the funniest results that I've gotten. Just out of just sheer absurdity of it all. I'm having way too much fun with the idea of just having this sort of like goofy gun hand. Well, I didn't want to say it, I troll for you, but it is a little flat. Like all the results, all the knives are different, all that stuff. You have to be very selective with I troll for you sheet. Instead, I recommend just picking one link of his for the pink character and just going nuts with that. Because that's going to give you much more consistent results. But you never used it actually. Yeah, well, the character sheets are something that, depending on really your intent, right? Like if you're just exploring, you really don't need to have the full sheets. But if you're like, in motion picture, like animation and stuff like that, you want to have as many rules as possible. You want to establish like how a character looks very rigidly. Blobby is like all over the place. He can kind of be whatever he wants to be, just because he's an amorphous fantasy character. But I mostly wanted to show that to you guys because it lets you give you an idea of where we're going with this. We could take all of these characters that you guys have been submitting, and they will eventually end up in a comic of some sort, whether it's a comic you guys make or it's a comic I make. It'll all be here. So like, for example, there's a couple from I Troll for You when it comes to Blobby and all that stuff. I really liked, I featured his last week. So I'm gonna look for, I think there's a couple in the Nards groups as well. And then we have, of course, Ancient, which is Legal Beagle's most recent creation, is working on our moderator here, and establishing a character for him. What are your thoughts on this one, Ancient? I'm curious.
That one is, I actually asked him to help me with it. It came from a base that I had for a while, but couldn't get it consistent. And he was able to get it consistent enough to actually work.
That's great. I mean, it's awesome.
He's so good at that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so cool to see just the development that people have been able to take on. But I'm curious from you, like in terms of like, this character, do you have any like any lore, anything you want to unfold about this?
For that character, no, that one's just a representation of me.
I hear you.
It's the most mysterious cat boy in all the land.
There you go. I mean, I did beat you. I mean, you did beat me up in a comic already. So it's I did a comic. If you go to gnarlycomics.com, you'll see all my comics that I've posted so far. I need to update the tumbling up thumbnail, but I have a comic. It's just one issue. I never continued the series because I really do want to. I really do want to do more of these exquisite prompts with you guys. But the idea is that half the comic is done by someone else, and then I finish it up, or vice versa. Like, so I would give an incomplete comic to somebody else, and then they would finish it up. So we call it exquisite prompt. It's a labor of love kind of thing. Like, you really need to know the other person's down to put in a couple hours of work into the comic, right? Just to make it look great. But I had a lot of fun just with this, with trading this back and forth with Ancient, and just making this whole fight scene happen. Like, it was super fun to it's like, hey, kitty, show me what you got. like that kind of thing. And then he kicks my ass. So it's a lot of fun. I would heavily recommend it. But the thing about this result here, and what I really learned from this, was that when Ancient kicks my face in and says Cubist Kung Fu, when I say Cubist Kung Fu, oh, nice shot, AI Catboy. Like when I prompted all that, I actually prompted for falling while breakdancing. That's the best in my. There's two prompts that really kick ass for making characters look like they're getting hit or punched or hurt or whatever. It's either discombobulated. Discombobulated is great. Like in the air, discombobulated is a really fun prompt. And then and as a bonus one, I would say spontaneous levitation is another fun one, because characters are like, whoa, why am I suddenly floating? As opposed to like, I'm a confident bird person, like I can fly no problem. So spontaneous levitation is another one. But my favorite is falling while breakdancing, because it implies that the twisting of the hip and the arms are like as if you got hit so hard that your spine's almost broken. You know what I mean? Like that's what I wanted to evoke, was the spinning sensation. And falling while breakdancing has to be if you like, that's where it's great. I really love this result. So let's go ahead and grab Ancient here really quick, and then we'll grab the 3D stuff for you guys. Look at all these results. Look at what you guys have been doing. That is awesome. So what we can do is we take the primary CRF and the base prompt. Okay. I'm just going to paste it in here so I have some place to put all the links. Bam. Like that. I'm going to put CRF in the front of this. Take out these brackets really quick. I don't really need to take out the brackets, but I do it because it bothers me. So I'm going to do that. All right. I add CRF to the front of that. And then I'm going to go back over to Midjourney. And we are going to prompt a little bit with Ancient here while we get into the 3D side of stuff, which is where I'm going to be jumping off of some of the generative stuff. So I'm going to actually open a bonus window for you guys so I could still see what you guys are generating, but we're going to be messing with some 3D stuff today. So first thing I'll do is hop back over to Midjourney. And inside of VC Create, let's just prompt bird person time. Let's just prompt barefoot cat boy noir wearing a black hoodie with neon pink and neon blue accents. Okay. So I'm going to submit this for now. Oh, what didn't work? RM. So the first link didn't work for some reason. Hold on. Maybe I didn't press enter on there. Nope. Okay. Let me see what's going on here with this link. We got a 404 on the first link here. Yeah, it says not found. So let me see what's there we go. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Legal Beagle. It's missing the W, I guess, at the end of it. That was probably my bad. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna write multiple comic panels depicting an action sequence. Okay. And then I'm gonna set the aspect ratio to something really tall, 2:5. And because there's a character reference in there, it's most likely going to be just a very tall portraiture of Ancient. And look, here's feeling that's Kravis. It's so cool to see you guys just pulling characters from the Chaos Portal and going nuts. Cat falling while breakdancing. There you go. You can see what I mean by like the legs and the arms are just all over the place, which is amazing when you try to get inspired for like action scenes. But here is the result of multiple comic panels depicting an action sequence. And you can see that we got a lot of really cool poses. They are going to dominate with Ancient's character here. But if I now re-roll this and drop the character weight to like 10 or even as low as 0, we're going to see a lot more diversity in what comes up here. So, look at this. A fern plant wearing a large sunglasses, relaxing on a beautiful beach. There you go. Yeah, the sunglasses are definitely, because there's no face. It you have to kind of imagine that it's like it might see it as kind of like a portal, like it might like somewhere to kind of like appear an arm, a leg, or whatever. But it's going to obscure faces for the most part. Like that top right one's cute, but it is still obscured, still covered up by ferns. So at this point, I really do want to keep digging and seeing what you guys are doing. But you could see that by just dropping the character weight to 0, we suddenly get really dynamic action shots that we can then bring Ancient's character back into within P2.
Sorry.
So, whatever you guys do at Vern, I am 100% down for it. I think it's too freaking funny. Okay, all right. Let's get into the 3D stuff now, because I think this is going to be exciting for entirely different reasons for people. But in order to do this, I am going to open up Adobe Dimension, which is a 3D manipulation and viewing program. It basically lets us be able to relight and get our 3D models ready to be used for the comics. So I'm going to open up I didn't get a chance to change the actual scene here, but for the tablet only. Yep. Okay. I'm going to grab Adobe Dimension here and I'm going to drag that down. Okay. And then for the let me just copy really quick. I got to hop back over to here. I want to copy this so I could still see what you guys are doing, but I'm going to paste this here. There we go. I just want to be able to keep track of what you guys are doing. Okay. So, there we go. Sweet. Okay. So Adobe Dimension lets us do a lot of really cool stuff when it comes to being able
Air conditioning not working.
I'm sorry?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. So Adobe Dimension is a program that comes with a bunch of pre-baked in 3D models so that you can like learn how it works, right? Everything from basic shapes, primitives, that kind of thing, to pretty advanced, complex, like high polygon count 3D models. And this program is actually originally designed for advertisement, for marketing. So you can take your 3D file that you have for your product and quickly relight it in a different scenario. So say you are you're running at a party event that's happening at midnight. You can relight your product to be at night with the shining nightlife club lights everywhere. That's all possible with Adobe Dimension. So what I've done here is I'm just going to zoom us out here really quick. There we go. So here is the phone booth untextured, and I left it untextured on purpose because I did not want to I didn't want to have to incur all the additional artifacts that could happen with the textures on top of these polygons. But it is something where if at any point we can actually scroll down here and grab any one of these textures that are laying here. So we have, let's actually open this up a bit and see if we can read these. Oh no, it's not going to let me do that. Let's just, let's do vintage glass for the actual panel here. It'll load this up. And now that 3D model is made out of vintage glass. And so if I zoom in here, you could see there's a translucency to it, but it only allows the light in as the glass would be normally. So what this means is that I can quickly manipulate this 3D model to match my composition in my comics with the textures that I need them to have to evoke that moment or that material, and just render it. So the thing is about Adobe Dimension is whatever you look at is the actual render that you're doing. Okay, you'll see that there's a little bit of extra space up and down. In fact, can I zoom in and out easily? Is it going to let me? Yes. Okay. So ideally, you want to see what your canvas size is, and then set your 3D model to fit within that canvas in the angle or perspective that you need for your comic. Okay. So now that we have this kind of glass that's here, let's actually double it up a little bit so we can really see what this effect looks like. And we would jump over to render, And as soon as I hit render, I'm just going to give it a gobbledygook name because it doesn't matter. As soon as I hit render on here, it's going to chug up my PC pretty good. But I want you guys to see what it looks like by the time this is, more done. And again, like I said, I bought this 3D model, right? I didn't really put a ton of time into like making changes to it. But the more you apply materials and effects to these 3D models, the more likely you're going to have artifacts that show up. They can be something relatively mundane, like a small triangle that shouldn't be where it is, to something far more intrusive, like something that makes it like everything looks fine except for that one corner of the box is like all screwed up all over the place when it comes to the quality of it. But you can see what it's doing now is it's slowly rendering all the points of light that go through this glass. Okay. And so that means that every one of these circles that represents the phone are now being fully fleshed out. It's being put together for us here. So what I'm waiting on is for this to finish up here. It looks like it kind of froze on us a little bit, so we'll see if it actually completes. But we're going to look for artifacts, and then we're going to gen fill the artifacts out so that we can essentially bypass a ton of rendering errors. Like understand, this would have been this if Pixar would have had this when Toy Story came out, or when Nemo or Little Nemo came out, that those movies would have taken 2 years less time to make, or maybe even 3. The average Pixar movie takes between 3 to 5 years to make, or whatever. They would have been able to do it. Finding Nemo. They would have been done so much faster if they had access to this kind of technology back then. Because rendering is what takes up so much time. You need to actually wait for your computer to process all these points of light, and with modern day stuff like ray tracing and all that stuff, it helps, sure. But the key thing is that look at this. Okay, I've kind of obscured this with my head kind of purposely, right? But I said, okay, it's lagging. I looked at it and I'm like, okay, here's why. It says that one render is going to take 24 minutes. Now it's 17 minutes. Okay. So I'm not going to let this render all the way. I already have pre-rendered stuff to show for you guys. So I just wanted to show you guys what that process looks like. Because this is that image is not just that little corner, by the way. If I kind of scroll down here, you can see just how big this is. I have it on a green screen so that I can easily mask this out. But we're already getting a bit of an error on one of these results, which is this triangle at the top here. Okay. There's some light that's being allowed out of this shape here. So we're going to, I just wanted to show you guys what that rendering actually looks like and the fact that it takes so much time to do, right? Okay. We're going to cancel this. And I'm going to open up one of my previous models that I have already rendered. Let me go ahead and here. Oh, it finished. It finished while I was setting that up. Okay, that's cool. That's funny. Sometimes it'll just have a really bad guess of the length of time it takes to make something, but sometimes like that bad guess ends up adding an extra hour. Like some of these things. So I have this file here now. I can easily just bring this up. So we'll open up Photoshop. And this is all relevant to the comic and generative imagery because we can use these as image prompts. You can use these 3D files as your image prompts to be able to guide your results, to really control the intent, similar to what I was doing with drawing. But instead of drawing, we're manipulating 3D models. So if you don't have like good hand-eye coordination, and you don't have any experience drawing, maybe 3D is more fun for you, but having those traditional skill sets down to just drawing, cartoon characters and stuff like that'll always be essential to really telling a story with cartoons, So yeah, I recommend learning whatever brings you the most passion first, just because it will drive you to the end a little bit more easily. So what I'm going to do is let's open up our phone booths here. Loving what you guys are generating, by the way. So you can see that the result that we get out of this is a come on, get out of here. Shoot. Why is this up? Why? I don't like that this tool is okay. No, go away. Okay. All right. So the thing about this is that it's just now a 2D image. Okay. But because it's been rendered out of Adobe Dimension, every one of these assets are just parts of a layer in Photoshop, right? So we can remove the depth information. We can remove the object selection masks, so on and so forth. There's a lot of things we can do with this that really let us be able to say, okay, yeah, this is now functionally useful for us, in productions. So I'm going to find one where I did a good amount of generative updates to it. So let's see here. It's probably actually in the comic. Yeah, it's in the comic. So we're going to recreate that here. So if I zoom in on this result, there are errors, and they may not be obvious to you right off the bat, but the errors are actually like what would be like a heartbreak to see in 3D, right? If you're working with 3D models and stuff. And this error right here is actually the rim around this box. This would probably be covered up by a texture and relighting it. Okay. And we can light it however we want in dimension. But a fix that I did for this, which is so much easier, by the way, I just use Photoshop Beta, and I select where every one of the rendering errors are. Okay. I find them all. Something like this. Let's get this corner in here too. Get all of this and this. Okay. And what's on the bottom corner here. We do have all the corners covered up, so we may want to remove one of these to establish where the edge of the box is, but we'll see what the result is of just straight up gen filling that in Photoshop without writing anything in the prompt at all. What this will do is it'll rely entirely on image interrogation, or the interpretation of the image, to guide what the result should be. Okay. So we could see that if I cycle through these now, like the second one is like almost perfect. It's so clean. Hold on, let me get rid of this stupid box. Look how clean this is. There's still an error up here because I didn't select that properly. We'll clean up this little corner that's a bit weird here. And then we'll generate on top of this too. And you can see there's a bit of an odd fold of shadow here. I can just keep going. I could just keep going and cleaning up this 3D model in a way that, yes, I could technically pixel peep every one of these gradients and copy it with a clone tool or whatever. But this is so much faster. It's ridiculous, actually. This is what I mean by like Pixar movies are never going to be the same after this, because you don't have rendering errors anymore. You could just clean them up with GenFill. And then when you talk about 3D, right, like 3D rendering and AI video combined together, it's not going to be that we're watching fully generated videos. That's silly. There's a couple of gimmicky ones right now. Like I saw an ad for Coca-Cola that was entirely generated. No, it wasn't Coca-Cola. It was Legos. That's right. I saw a Lego ad that was entirely generated from Lego, and it pissed me off, honestly, because I was like, I'm all down for people using this tech all they want, but Lego's got all the money in the world to hire people. You know what I mean? There's no reason why they're using generative imagery. They could just hire a child to be in an astronaut suit. You know what I mean? But no, we have to play around with this new toy. And I honestly like it's about engagement online. They want to sell their products, right? They want to have people pay attention to us. There is a Toys R Us commercial as well. There's two. Like the Toys R Us commercial was the one that made all the news. The Lego one is the one that pissed me off. like the Toys R Us one is just kind of like, whatever, person bouncing around or whatever. But the Lego one was like they don't even feature the Legos in it. It's like it's bad. They did it all they can get. Yeah. It's I anytime like there's like a corporate, I'm gonna call it abuse, a corporate abuse of generative imagery like that. Like I am like, look, they have all the money in the world to hire people as needed to do something. It's just they want 4% more to go towards the pockets of the people who are making those calls. Instead of like, doing it right and hiring people and being, a proper, responsible, empathetic company. But it's, whatever it is somebody's being hired to make those. So, at least there's somebody benefiting from it that isn't a faceless corporation. But I the Toys R Us one, the Soar one from Toys R Us was this just odd. The Lego one though is just, it's because it's all about like a kid quickly aging up and down, right? So they like AI, they decided to just generate all of it, and it was just really, really odd, really odd. Anyway, I'm going to get off of this topic. The main thing I wanted to show you guys is that with this 3D model here, using GenFill, we are able to clean up every little bit of this that would normally take a bunch of technical like know-how to fix. Okay. I love it. I love being able to just import a 3D model from wherever. If you're not familiar with any sort of 3D modeling, that's fine. There is a website I want to show you. There's actually two. But if I think it's this, yes. Just a second. We have Turbo Squid, right? Which is where I bought this model. But we also have a free website called Thingiverse. Thingiverse, which is by the MakerBot guys. If you've owned a 3D printer, you know what this website is. Okay. You can use the STL files from a 3D printer inside of Adobe Dimension. Okay. So let's take this owl. Yeah, no, go away. Harry Potter owl. Yeah, Hedwig. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the files. Files. Download. We'll save that. It's a 3MF file, so it should work. I'll export it as an OBJ if it doesn't. But now I am going to hop us back over to Adobe Dimension. Go to Design. And let's try importing that file. Import 3D model. Where did I save it? Hold on a second. Let me see where I saved it. Hey, with 3MF. Okay. Yeah, I got it here. All right. So I will drag and drop the 3MF file into here. Okay. It doesn't recognize this file type. That's fine. That's fine. I'm going to open it up in a different program, or we could just download a different file, frankly. But if you have a Windows, right, you actually already have all your 3D printing software good to go, unlike Apple. So you have something called 3D Builder built into Windows. If you don't have it for some reason, you can find it in the store for it. But we're going to do save as, and then we should, yes, and it just automatically lets us be able to convert things. Very, very handy. I really love this. It also has a great model repair, by the way. Like if you have some broken 3D models with holes in them and stuff, it'll do a great job fixing it. Way better than some of the even super expensive paid stuff. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to my desktop and I'm going to get my elderly cat that's screaming out of the door here. And just a second here. Okay. OBJ. Got it. Okay. We have that now exported as an OBJ file. I am going to grab that OBJ file and drag and drop it into here. Hold on a second. Hi. Yep. Nope. She's doing the thing where she's doing the silly cat thing where she screams at the door and then when you open it, she runs away.
He's our cat now.
Exactly. So we'll let this load up for a minute. It's probably because I'm colliding it with a phone booth and whatnot. It's also taking a minute, and I'm streaming, and I'm doing a lot of other stuff with this computer at the same time. So excuse any sort of delay on here. While we're waiting for that to load, I'm going to hop us back over to the chat here. Hi, everybody. So I really want to hear from you guys. If you're new here, especially, say hey. We're in VC Text. There's a lot of stuff going on here that can be easily brushed over with me. That can, I tend to kind of work a mile a minute. Okay, so please message on VC Text if you have any questions, any sort of if I'm not answering it, one of the community members will, and they'll do a great job doing it. I promise. We're basically just all making stuff together here. So I'm excited to hear from you. So please message on there or join the server if you want to do it at a different time and not live, right? I do not accept PMs. I'm sorry, but I don't. There's too many of them and they're very awkward. There's a good yeah, I get a couple of them that I have to be like, I'm not allowed to stream while I'm reading this one. Like it's, so I'm very aware of that. I don't open my DMs, like that kind of thing. So don't just reach out through the server if you want to say hey, or on VC Text here. So at this point, we got the 3D model loaded in here. And I see from the text that we have things about the cash humor is the best humor. Oh yeah, of course. All right, and then Thingiverse, yes, legal deal. Thingiverse, that's correct. Okay, let's go open up this 3D model. Okay, so for now, I'm going to get rid of the payphone, which is on the top right here. You can just mute it, and inside of this, we have the object one, which is the Hedwig owl here, and it's probably just really tiny. Let's see where it is. I saw it there for a second. Oh, it's utterly massive. Oh my god, it's like if you had the moon show up and it's a giant owl. That's why it took so long to render. Is that it's being rendered at like an enormous scale. That's hilarious. So if I turn the phone booth back on, where's the phone booth? Where did it go? Hold on. Oh, I muted it. Okay. Where is it? It's somewhere here, and it's very, very far away. Oh, there it is. There it is. It's that little dot. It's that little dot right here. That's the phone booth. And here's our owl. I love 3D modeling. I love how bonkers it gets like this. Like where it's like, okay.
Imagine if that owl tried to sit on top of that phone booth.
Yeah, exactly. Just claw. It's like Godzilla, like Mothra, trying to land on a single phone booth. But the reason I loaded this 3D model up here is not just to show you that high complex, high polygon models work well, right? But you could use this in order for your prompting. Okay. So like, let's just say that we were like, okay, I want this owl specifically, right? But I want to try out either a different texture or something that's on here. So let's try metal. I'll just drag and drop that on there. Now we can see what the metal looks like from different angles. You see how the reflections kind of bounce around. None of this will look like the way that it does until we hit render and then we actually see what that looks like. But right now we have it on a green background. Let's give it an environment. So we could even import a generated image for the environment. Oops, I accidentally changed the metal to be that reflection. Hold on a second. Let me get the environments. Environment lighting. We want just backgrounds, images. Yeah, city backdrop. Sure. And I will get rid of this texture and just replace it with shiny metal again. Boop. And okay, now it kept the shiny metal. I see. But because we have the reflection set to the city there, you can see that the shadows are preserved in the different, like, kind of weird direction. It's just basically just a 2D image for the background. But there are ways to do wraparound 3D stuff. But for now, it's just a matter of getting the 3D model to behave how you want it to behave with the light. So let's do a square light on here. And then I'll pick a better background for this so that we can actually see what's going on here. Okay. So if we change this material to something like something a little more flat, that's all shiny. Let's see. Let's crown. There you go. Just something that's a little flatter. Okay, this is like almost like a sandstone, right? We could change the lighting of this so that we can have, say, like the sun. There you go. Now we have light bounce that looks like the sun. At least it comes from the direction of the sun. And then we could do a 3-point light, and that just kind of gives us a really strong left and right. And then we also have circular light, which is like a beauty light, Instagram kind of light or whatever. And if you don't like the position that it's in or the lighting that it's in, you just use the tool here. Why am I blanking on what that's called? It's not that important, but you could easily manipulate the 3D model by manipulating each one of these dials here. And there you go. So we have our standing up 3D model of an owl. For the backgrounds, I would probably just keep it to a color, right? So we swap this, we go to color, and then either white or green, maybe blue. But I usually do a high intensity green in order for me to green screen it out later. And let's take this owl. And I don't really need to do a high resolution render of this. So I can come back into here, switch the render quality to low fast, and then we're just going to render that. Oops, let's give it a unique name. Owly boy.
Yeah.
There you go.
Great name.
Owly boy. And by doing this, what we're essentially saying is, okay, this owl right here, we are, oops, there we go. We need this owl to it doesn't need to be the highest resolution. It doesn't need to be the highest quality. The quality really is just all the points of light bouncing on this texture and this shape. So if we don't really need that depth, then we don't render it with it. Well, why waste our time? Okay. So we're just going to do a fast, quick render of this. And we can see in real time how each one of the directions, like basically there will be a point of light that hits the 3D model and then bounces back at the lens, and it does a calculation for what the strength of it. It's like a ray trace kind of thing. Ray tracing happens in real time, right? While this is traditional 3D rendering, like we're waiting for each point of light, each spatial object to be rendered fully and appropriately. There's this Bryce 3D from the 90s that I will eventually be introducing into, because it's the foundation of vaporware. It's the foundation of vaporwave aesthetic. Is the Bryce 3D program, and it'll be a lot of fun to talk about the first 3D programs inside the Sage Comics. But now that we have this file here, I can go into Midjourney. We're going to be hopping back to Midjourney here in just a sec, and we're going to use this 3D model as a image prompt. Okay, so first I'll take out the green inside of Photoshop really quick. So let's grab this owl here. Okay, new canvas. And you can see the owl, I didn't place it center, I did whatever. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to marquee select the the actual like green space here, making sure that if there's any like weird little dangly things that are hanging out, this is probably an error from the 3D model. Oh no, it's the phone booth. It's the phone booth. Oops, I left the phone booth in there. That's funny. Okay, so there's the phone booth. Just to give you an idea of scale. I don't think that would lay it on the phone booth, Kiki. I think that would just absolutely obliterate it.
Right?
But that's just too funny to me. You just zoom in a little bit too much, and there's a phone booth there. Okay, all right. We've established what's the green space here. Let's go ahead and go into our any selection tool and right click it, and we're going to hit select inverse. Yes, select inverse. This flips what you selected. Okay, so I originally selected all the green, right? Now everything but the green has been selected, minus the phone booth and stuff I manually selected earlier. So now I can just easily hit the mask button and boom, I got a mask. And that gives me a nice clean, backgroundless model to work with. And that's a little more accurate of a way to do it than to hit the new AI like remove background button. It's very, very useful when you're talking about complex scenes. But for the most part, I'm more doing this. I'm more just going, okay, let me make it easy for me. The way I know how to make it easy, which is green screens, blue screens, that kind of thing. Chroma key stuff. So if we now look at this 3D model, we could put any background we want on this in order to evoke the final image prompt. So like our intent. Remember what I showed earlier. I wanted the image prompt so that I don't have to write these words. I don't have to say like, okay, I need an owl. I needed this. I needed that. I needed that. Whatever. So the core subject matter is important, but it is something where I try to get away with as much as possible. So let's like with the image prompts. So let's go ahead and put him like in the Grand Canyon or something. Just some arbitrary random place. Grand Canyon images, and let's do this one. I think this is a pretty big picture. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go to the layer underneath this and then submit it. And you'll notice that even though I did the mask selection here, I could also like render this as a Photoshop file and get all those tools, like all those layers that you saw earlier, right? But I don't need it. I'm fine. So if we are like, yes, I want to put this owl on the Grand Canyon for some reason, and we scale it to what we want. Okay. Right. As soon as I scale that, we're actually destroying the pixels. We're shrinking it down so that if I scale it back up and I keep entering and going back and forth, we are deconstructing the image to a much uglier state. Okay. So instead, the better thing to do is to make this into a smart object that will not let that happen anymore. Okay. And if we're like, okay, the lighting in this owl is now wrong. Like if I scale it and put it into the right place. Okay. So let's do that. Ooh. There we go. If I put this owl here, the lighting is in the wrong direction. It's also way too bright to match the canyon here. So I have a choice of like, either I just accept it and we just see what the results are with this, or better yet, don't accept failure and go back to design. Keep your composition the same. So we don't want to change anything about the composition, but we definitely want to actually change the direction of the lighting. So I will say, here's the sun. That's one. It shows up as another thing here. And we have all these different sliders. I'll have to move my head a little bit. Hold on. Where am I here? Okay. I have all these different sliders. Okay. So we are going to, let's do the rotation. Let's set it to something a little farther back, something like that. And then we have the height of the actual sun, and some level of cloudiness will just blur the light basically that goes to it. And we can increase the intensity to compensate. It's not really changing too much right now for me. But if I now come in and switch this to maybe red or something that's a little more evoking a sunset. Okay. And then look, we have a little bit of red that shows up on the corner there. And we can essentially just start to find where the shadows need to be to match that image that we're working with. Okay. Yeah, it's not changing too much for me on that. So let's do the key light. And let's lower the key light down. let's do the fill light and also lower that down, and the backlight, especially the backlight. It will basically like if we want to simulate this, right? Let's take out this direction. We have a lot of excess lights on with this here. So I've turned off all the lights except for the sun, and we can now rotate this. You can see the shadow is now playing around with it way better. Okay. So let's flip this over to about here because it needs to be dark in the face and bright in the back. So let's do the backlight, and we're going to slowly increase this intensity to something like that. And let's rotate this to be a little farther back. We want to make sure none of that wing really gets caught in the light there. Okay. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. We have a little bit of purple, a little bit of brightness, so on and so forth. And so the only thing I'm going to do is export this. Actually, sorry, we'll render this as a second version of it. Doesn't matter the name really. And then go from there. We will basically just start replacing this file with the other file, and it should look way better in terms of compositing. Like this is where we're actively compositing images together and stuff. So designing sunlight is a dream I didn't realize I had. That is a statement from a really smart. Yeah, no, 3D modeling is actually super fun. It lets us be able to, especially when it comes to like lighting and set design and all that stuff, it lets us really just go nuts with it. And just have a lot of fun, you know? Definitely my elderly cat's yelling to get fed. That is certainly true. I have a smoothie, so I'm happy with my smoothie. It's the phone booth. And you actually got me holding a corded phone. That's great. That was relatively hard to do. To get the corded phone to be understood. That's what I wanted. We have plenty of like, you know, straight lines that end up coming out of the somewhat phone-like shape, but it's a little tough to get. It's also true, like I did draw it in as the windy cord like you would have at home, but then I looked at the 3D model and realized that I remembered actually when I saw the 3D model that it's a stiff metal, almost metal line that is coming out of those phone booths so that you don't break them easily. Plenty of people did anyway, but yeah, it's hilarious to me that I was like, "Whoa, look at this phone booth," and it has like this like zany cord, like wacky cord coming out of it. Yeah, it didn't make sense. So at this point, though, we have the 3D render done of the new owl, and what this lets us do is it lets us quickly come back into Photoshop here. Okay, and instead of let's full screen this. Instead of saying, hey, let's meticulously line up this image again, right? What we can do is we can actually open this up as an content. So inside of the smart object, we just hit edit contents and look at that. We have our original picture again with the mask, okay? So the only thing that means is that we have to just come into here and drag and drop. You know, we drag and drop can sometimes be a little problematic, but let's just drag and drop this. Okay. You see that it did not line up. It did not line up at all because, again, drag and drop is problematic. And the reason why is because it didn't load it at 100%. Okay. So let's do, we can do 100 and see if it lines up, and it probably won't. Okay. Right. These are mistakes that I'm showing you guys because your instinct is just to go, hey, let me fudge this. Let me put this I'll just keep, moving pixels around until it looks right. No. The better way to do this, okay, is to actually replace this file. Okay. So we're going to duplicate it. And then I'm going to right click on it. And let's make that a smart object now. And then I'm going to hit replace file or relink to file on here. Okay. And we just need to find the owl again. There's the owl here. So we have two versions. We have the first version and then the one with that we've lit for this for the Grand Canyon. We'll click on that. And did it do it? No, it didn't do it right. Okay. It looks like I'm screwing up too. So I must have moved this model at some point when I was doing the render, right? But it's okay. It's okay. What we could do is just control click the mask and And, we could just realign all that, blah, 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 blah. I'm just going to do this really hacky. I'm sorry, guys. This really should have worked, but should have just auto-aligned right back up. But I guess I must have moved the camera a little bit inside of Adobe Dimension. That's fine. It's not a big deal. I'll just go ahead and select all the green and the little phone booth. And do that invert again. Boom. And then mask that. And we'll now hide the bad or the older version of the owl. Save this. And now that it's saved, and mostly in the same place, it looks good. Guys, I gotta be right back. I just heard a bit of a weird sound of like one of my doors opened here. So I'll be right back. But look at this. Look at this. Now it's more properly lit. And the only thing we have to do is change the curve here in order to adjust for the final bits of this. So like something like this, and then maybe a hue change. Look at that. The light comes from the sun right there.
Nice.
Yeah, right? That looks cool. All right, I'll be right back. I'm going to put Kinky on if you don't mind.
That's what I'm here for.
Awesome. Let me open you up here and turn this on, and I'll be right back.
Hello. I'm here to talk to you guys today about the Toys R Us ad. You guys see the Toys R Us ad? The one that was made fully in AI? I didn't see the Lego one, but I saw the Toys R Us one. And I feel like, what is this Toys R Us? Oh, you just hurt my heart, Rhapsody. Like I feel like I've been shot twice by that same gun. So when we were kids, we had a mega store called Toys R Us. And then during COVID, and maybe a little bit earlier, I don't know if it was because of COVID, but at some point it got short sold to death, and then they went bankrupt, and now they're in heaven, in Toy Store heaven. But they kind of have like a section in Macy's now. If you go to the Macy's stores. So they made a commercial. Yeah, they're still alive a little. I can barely hear you, Ancient.
Oh, I said they are still alive in some places like Canada.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
That's good to hear, because I thought that they were only in Macy's. But the ad that they had was done, I guess, fully in AI with some touching up and whatnot. And it was a big controversy, but I feel like they hired some kid's nephew that just got his hands on Meta's animation and it feels like they could have done so much better. I mean, I know that Toys R Us isn't mega rich anymore, but they could have hired someone to make an advertisement that was doing a good job with the situation. Was it made with Sora? I think it was made with Sora. I think it was. I didn't feel like it looked that great. Maybe I'm just spoiled now. But I feel like it's like food for all the non-AI people to be like, that's what they're doing. I mean, if Toys R Us couldn't find someone to do a better job, you know what I mean? Sora, like letting big corporations use the equipment, but not people yet, is weird. I'm just filling space. Anybody want to talk about anything specifically that is off topic while he's gone? Exactly. They could literally have gone to the server and exactly.
Okay.
And hundreds of people doing it well. All right, I go now.
No, you can finish it when you're talking. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I think we were wrapping it up. I was just talking about Toys R Us.
Cool. Yeah, I had to. What is it? I had to feed my cat, and you'll hear one loud meow from her when she's finished because she's 20 years old and gets really frustrated at things. And so when her food's empty, she literally screams into her bowl, which amplifies it upward.
That's adorable.
It's the one loud meow that you might hear here in a minute.
Mine doesn't make any noise at all except when he's like, Mom, and that's it. Like he'll say it like once every couple of months. But other than that, you only hear him when he's about to throw up.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well,
I get off the stage now.
all right, thank you. Thank you so much for that, Kinky. Let's
No worries.
also I do want to lots of creativity comes from creative evil. Rhapsody, that's funny. It is true that from here, I wanted to show you guys what it's like to composite, like what it's like to image prompt with these 3D models. And then if Rhapsody wants to come on here, she's welcome to. Rhapsody is my head moderator over at the Gnarly Comics Discord. She is amazing. Probably one of the most knowledgeable people that I work with. Frankly, like she's great. I really like working with her. And so if she wants to come on, she's welcome to. But we're just going to be messing around with compositing these 3D models here. So the main thing I want to kind of dig into here, really, I've realized that there's a lot of chat I might have missed, but okay, let's get this 3D model into Midjourney really quick. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we open up Photoshop here, and we now have this model that we have messed with the curves to somewhat match the lighting and the like the hues and darkness here of this scene. That's what we need in order to evoke that this doesn't look photo bashed by the end of it, right? We could actually go even farther and go a little, just maybe change the hue a little bit so we get less of that sandstone and more like, let's just get it to pop a little bit, you know? Maybe or like a red horn owl, right? So that would be more red. And we can change the saturation and all that. It would probably be a little less saturated in real life, something like this. Okay. And now, hi. The Rhapsody is here. Awesome. Let me just do this little tweak here, and then they'll introduce you here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select all of the owl, like the base of the owl here. And let's just do a quick gen fill of this. I'm kind of working at the hip here, guys. So let's or shoot at the hip here. So let's just gen fill all of this bottom section here and see if it blends these two objects together, because that will make it look a lot less photo bashed when we do the actual image prompt. Okay. So let's see what we get. Okay, so it deleted the ground underneath it. Let's see. Okay, it did a little bit of work there. It did a little better. But if I would incorporate more of the rock and stuff, we could probably get it better. So let's mute this really quick. And I'm actually going to use a feature within Photoshop called Generative Expand up here. It means I could just come into here. Oh, look, we already have a little bit of rock. So let me just come down to here and I'll hit enter. I'm not going to write any prompt. I just want to extend this scene a little bit. Okay. And then once that's generated and I have an image that I feel comfortable with generating with you guys, we'll try messing with this. So we could see, okay, it's got a bit of a pedestal here. We got the edge of like the viewing booth. So let's do that. Let's do the edge of the view, because it's that nice contrast from the rest of the background here. And I love Photoshop gen fill for this. So we have this now. Let's go ahead and select everything that isn't the owl's feet. Okay, so something like this. And we will select every shadow. The shadows are the most important thing, whether you're talking about Midjourney or Photoshop or whatever. You have to make sure that you encapsulate the shadows, because otherwise it'll try to justify the shadows when you do a gen fill or an in paint or vary region or whatever you want to call it. So what we're going to basically be doing here is saying, all right, recontextualize this entire area that we've marqueed here without writing a single prompt in there. And we could basically get the owl to stand on something at the edge here. So let's say like, okay, so this is kind of working, but let's say like it's a pedestal. I probably didn't spell that right, but it's okay. Just submit that. And this is how I work with Photoshop Beta, right? I start off by not writing anything in the prompt to see if it can understand my context without any prompt at all. And if it can't, then I slowly start introducing words that may help me get to, he's holding like a little bicycle.
Is it a chainsaw?
Yeah, there's something like that going on. I don't know, but it is kind of funny. Let's yeah, he's on a little bike here. That's funny. I'm going to try a different word here. Let's what would you recommend, Rhapsody? What word would probably work well here for merging these?
Pedestal is good if you write it correctly.
Yeah.
Pedestal, not pedestal.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, pedestal. Yeah. Okay. Yes, correct my grammar, please. That's exactly what I need. Pedestal.
I mean, words in generative AI are like magic. You either speak them correctly or you get weird, wrong results.
Yeah, exactly. And it is
except if you're like using Journey and it just makes stuff up that's cool too. So,
right. So then you just kind of throw things on the wall and see what comes out. But look at that. Yes, correct spelling for the win. There you go. We have a nice little pedestal on all three of these results. So let's go with this one. Let's go with this one. This one's better. Okay. Now that we have this, okay. We have an image that makes sense, that has shadows, that makes sense, that it generally is like, maybe a little bit photo bashed, just a bit, right? But it's way better than it was before. Okay. We have foreground, background, everything like that. So let's flatten this layer. Flatten. And now that we have an image for Midjourney, we can just hop on over to our VC Create. Let's first paste the image into there. And then I'm going to write /describe. Okay. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to see what Midjourney believes is in this picture before I really dig into this. So we have this image here. I'm going to now drag and drop that into here and then hit submit. /describe essentially is doing an image interrogation. It's going to do some people call it a reverse prompt, I've learned, where essentially it's going to try to make words that represent this image that you might be able to use. Oh, the picture is too big. Okay, that's fine. We can easily shrink it down. So let's do that really quick. Image shrink. Let's do 50%. We really don't need a big image for doing image prompting. In fact, you don't even need a perfect image for image prompting, but it does help. So let's submit this now smaller version of it. We'll do /describe on that. Okay. Oops.
An owl sitting in front of the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, right.
There's a sunset in the background.
Yeah, it'll all say stuff like that for sure. Let's grab this and submit. And
that's the thing that I wanted. Oh, sorry.
No. Go ahead.
You. And that's the thing that I wanted to ask Chaos for a long time now, and I always forget. Is the describe function in Midjourney Discord still tied more to V5 and the website version is the new one? Or is that equalized by now?
No, they're both the new one.
Okay, good.
You can see that the result that it gave us is it's a lot of words that may or may not be useful for our intent. But in terms of understanding this image, like it's like a photo of an owl sculpture. It still sees it as a sculpture, an owl sculpture perched on top of the Grand Canyon ramp. So like literally we did our job. The image prompt is understood for what it is. Okay. If I wanted it to look more like a photorealistic owl, then I would start inpainting realistic photo like owl parts to this owl. But we can also just hit imagine all. And this gives us a raw interpretation or just like a raw word only prompt for these results here. We can find the one that is like closest to our intent of this image, and then use that as a as the basis. So like, let's grab this image here. We can just middle click the one that we interrogated, and now look at this. We have the owl in front of the Grand Canyon in various different. But look how similar it is to our composition. Like in terms of like representing the water. This is without any image prompting at all. We're just using our image as an interrogation. And there you go. We have the pedestal, the Grand Canyon, like everything is represented in this one result. Okay. So I'm going to hit reroll on this. But this time, I am going to include that image as an image prompt to the front of it. Okay. And then we're going to submit it. Let's do that also again, but this time I'm going to add one parameter to the end here, --IW, which stands for image weight. And I'm going to set that to 3. That's the max value on that. You don't really want to min max all the time, but like I do it way too often. But look here, look what the result was. Now the color palettes look so much more like the image that we had originally given it. Any information that was not in the prompt is basically filled in from the image prompt, right? So now let's take a look at the one that we set it to 3, and it essentially the third, like obviously the fourth one here is like spot on for it, and even the second one a bit. So this is the power of doing image prompting, because we have to compare this result, okay, to the earlier raw text version of it. So this one here. So you could see we lost some details, but we got way more consistency of the direction of the owl, what sort of pedestal he's standing on. Like there's all sorts of features that are super cool to see here. Okay, cool. That's it for me when it comes to the 3D modeling and the image prompting side of it, where you can just quickly composite your scenes and make these dynamic compositions. It's amazing. It's amazing to be able to have that level of control, especially if you can't draw. 3D models are a real good backup for that. So, okay. How about you, Rhapsody? Why don't you tell me what sort of shenanigans you've been up to lately?
Oh, I'm mainly working on characters and stuff. Not doing much different than that, other than maybe working on some channels on the Gnarly Comics server that came up in the community recently. We're not 100% sure on that one, but there may be a compendium soon to share knowledge all over the server. I think at least it's a good idea. We still have to talk about it.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. So people will then be able, that was the okay, I will live with that one and take it. So people will be able to share tutorials and SREFs that give different results and good prompts, like the one you just talked about for our characters falling and stuff. And we'll just build this huge knowledge base of things that will help you to get better and faster at prompting and at post-production and stuff and all of that. And it will be amazing.
Yeah, it'll be great. And I still have you here, by the way. I still have the old Rio animation that I made. Let's see here.
Oh, yeah.
I got to move.
My link should work, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
So if you activate the link...
Yeah, let me see. I got to turn this.
I will probably have to move myself.
Hey, I got to figure out which layer you were on. Yeah, there we go. I thought Parappa the Rhapsody was the layer that I saved you on.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Yeah, that should be the link. Unless if you want to send me a new link, I'll throw you on here. But
I can just send it to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
This is it.
Grab that. Yeah, it seems like
A little technical intervention.
right. Okay. Let me get you moved up here above the master scene, maybe. No, I'm not seeing it yet.
No? Well,
Yeah, I don't know. I can move. I can move around that canvas, but I can't see you for some reason.
that is really weird. Give me a second. Maybe I just copy it again. Yeah, that's why you usually prepare these things before you
Yeah, no, we're just having fun. It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah,
Not-
we will figure it out in a second. Maybe. Why is this not working for you?
It's not a big deal.
Is this different? No, it's not. Yeah, anyways. Leading directly into the compendium, I have been up with the guys testing some SREF combinations that lead to very consistent and amazing styles. We talked about Legal Beagle's style last week a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I had also some images combined that lead to an amazing enemy style. Whatever you throw in there is basically an awesome thing. And I'm still experimenting with that, refining it. Yeah. Other than that, some cool animations. I shared one.
Oh yeah, yeah. I love all the Pika stuff you've been getting into, and just like and for those that don't know, what is your official title at Pika?
I'm a community team. I'm basically the Discord admin. And it's a community moderator position basically. So I'm over there. And making sure everything works and people get support, and we have cool stuff to do. So
awesome. Well, I mean, it is certainly true that having your skill set on hand has been super helpful, but also just like you're a really creative person, so it's like really fun to just kind of bounce things off of you.
Yeah.
And like at least when it comes to the like style referencing and all that kind of stuff, it is something where I know what I'm doing with it, but when it comes to, it feels like the more and more people I get exposed to that are doing this sort of like these sort of workflows, I tend to find more and more people doing it in ways that I'm not expecting, like prompting or weighting your style references really heavily. I don't weight them at all because that wasn't an option when I got started with it. So I just haven't done it. But you can take any one of these style references and weight them now, in order to give a little more control to the final composition here. What is Kravis doing here? Holding a gun on a horse. What's the style reference? I'm curious now. Okay, it's just Kravis. Got it. Awesome. Kravis is a character from the Chaos Portal.
Oh, you're way up there. Yeah. He's doing weird stuff.
Okay, wait. Lazi, what is this? Is this your cat? Because it is always really funny to prompt with like real pictures, right? Like, I take this picture here, and you posted it in VC Create. Okay, I'm gonna take advantage of this picture. I'm gonna run this as a CRF and say,
he's gonna do terrible things.
It's gonna do terrible things. Photo of cat. Let's just do family photo. Family photo is actually a cursed result. I will warn you guys ahead of time that can become.
Can you do
I'm sorry?
an awkward family photo?
Yes. Let's do awkward family photo. I have used the word awkward for all sorts of stuff before. Awkward corner, awkward door in the corner is what I used it for Sage's bedroom, actually. Because I wanted a door that was kind of cocked at a weird angle. Oh, I see something's come up on my screen. There's like a black center. Hold on a second. Let me. Yeah.
Rhapsody, you're looking good.
Yeah. I changed my appearance. This is my new avatar.
Do you want to go a little bit more simple?
Yeah. Well, hyper minimalist character.
Yeah, I think I found the reason.
There you go. There you are.
Yeah. Here I am. I'm big.
Yeah, I can always rescale it down if we need to, but you're at the.
No, I can.
Oh, okay.
Like, look at that wingspan on her.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
All right, I gotta be quiet now.
no,
There we go.
Kiki's
No, you're fine.
because I'm like she could ogle the ladies without getting in trouble, nearly more than I can. But yes,
I'm going to just stand here.
yeah, you do have some big wings. Let's see here.
Look at my wings.
I love how much they bounce around. It's so fun. I really got to redo this model. I really got to redo this VTuber model. Super good. If you guys are not familiar, we're using Adobe.
And maybe maybe you shouldn't.
What?
Maybe you shouldn't.
Maybe I shouldn't, because you had a your experience of finagling that 3D model for way too long.
Yeah, I was still working on it. The reason I didn't prompt so much today was that I opened up the model because you told me it could be that you throw me on stage today. And I opened it up and everything was broken.
Oh, no.
So I basically had to go to my Backblaze account, download like a version from 2 days ago and replace everything. Because that's the bad thing with Adobe Character Animator, if you're into like making your own VTuber here, is you change one little thing and it messes everything up.
It can break. Yeah, you can break your model pretty easily. And at least in my experience, the way that I've explained how I made this VTuber model. It's a generated character. Victor has been one of my oldest characters, and by the way, this family photo, hilarious.
Absolutely amazing, especially the dog.
Yes, yeah, that would be that dog looks appropriate for this family here. I love how it's like an old British family. Like this is like a image that you would imagine would be like on like a terrible wallpaper. It's great. I love this picture.
See the Gnarlies, our new show on BBC.
Yes, the Gnarlies. Oh man, that's too funny. But at least when it comes to like the style references that I'm using with the Sage comics and everything like that, I'm almost always relying on my previous comics in order to make the style references. Right, I remove the text on them because it makes it a little bit more. It makes it. The results less like, here's a bunch of chaotic text everywhere. By removing the text, you essentially say like, I just want the imagery, right? That would be my hot tip. If you want to style reference something that already exists, then do that. Remove the text from the comic. Yes. And when it comes to like, I feel like when it comes to like the 3D models, like the character animator stuff, I'm kind of glad that I didn't go out of my way to like hand gestures and do it, because I'll be so distracted with my like, how do I make my character wave? Because I'm a tangent guy. Like I have to ramble, and if there's one thing that throws me off, it's got to be like little emotes and things like that for sure.
Oh yeah, there's a solution for that.
More automated reactions.
Yeah. It's basically full body tracking on Adobe Character Animator.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know it could do that.
It can.
I'll have to mess with it then. But I figure I'm gonna be I can break my back even harder.
Oh yeah,
by doing that for sure. So, okay, all right, cool. At this point, though, I want to hear from you guys. If you guys got any questions for Rhapsody or I on the kind of projects and things you're doing, we really want to at least be able to dig into the kind of like problems that you guys have run into, especially like if there's something that you have had that you get stuck with, that you had trouble with, or whatever. I want to see it. You want me to click one of these buttons?
Trying to press U1, but it doesn't work.
Yeah. What is this? Okay, this is from Alex. Throne of God in the center, angels around, 24 elders around the throne, Jesus in front, receiving many people, very detailed, realistic for a professional photography. Candelabra with 7 candles, a puppet, 8K. I mean, it's interesting photo, sure. But like a lot of times when it comes to these like word only prompts where that end with like kind of like 8K and other like kind of nonsensical gobbledygook, a lot of that stuff doesn't actually do anything anymore. At least not like it used to with B4 and B5 and whatnot. Entire sentence structure makes a lot more sense when it comes to prompting with V6. You really like full sentence structure helps a lot. And show me what you got. Yeah. That's funny. Cool. So like if we did like a variation subtle and then did a C-ref on that, I have Victor saved inside of my Midjourney. It's just a matter of writing /prefer and then taking all of the links that make up your character and saving it as a /prefer. Yes, show me what you got, GIF, right? But once you have that character saved, you can easily bring them back into your prompt by using variation subtle. We can basically do some like pretty badass scenes with this kind of setup. So like let's upres these two. And anytime that somebody that's like remixing off of a Jesus prompt, it makes me a little uncomfortable. But like if I take this, okay, like this result here, and then I do a custom zoom and then set the zoom to 1. And the aspect ratio, I set it to something really tall, like 2.5. If I leave the character reference in there, the character like Victor is going to pop up, like he's just going to dominate the results. So either I drop the character weight down to 0, or even better, in my opinion, when you're doing this sort of expansion thing, is we will delete the character reference entirely, leaving it at just AR25 and zoom 1. The reason being is that one, if the character reference is left on, what's going to happen is that it's just repeating the character multiple times. But if we remove it, it actually does like kind of like its own interrogation of that image and then repeats it on the top and bottom, but slightly tweaked because the prompt is comic panels. They were supposed to be evoking different comic panels. So we'll see how this one looks by the time it comes out. But generally speaking, at least in my opinion, there's a lot of really fun stuff that we can do with the comic panel prompts. So let's take a look at these. And you could see that we kind of have like an Aang-like character and like a fiery kind of thing. We didn't get any actual comic panels. And there's a very good reason for that. The reason is because we have the stylized set so high by default. Or sorry, not by default, but I believe I troll for you. So let's drop it to something much lower. Like let's do like 65. Okay. And remember, my prompt says, oh, did I not write comic panels in there? What happened here? Okay, that's what I did wrong. Hold on a second. I'm sorry. I'm going to re-roll this again. I'm going to change this to, yes, it does get posted on YouTube, Alpha Omega Aloha. It does get posted to YouTube. I've been a little late to the game on posting some of the previous episodes, but I'm getting there, I promise. But
because he has been working night and day on this comic series he talked about earlier.
Yeah, I've been not getting a lot of sleep. I'll be honest.
His little fingies have fallen off. He's too busy. He's been a busy man.
My fingies hurt.
Okay.
I can write multiple comic panels and then submit that instead of work off of what was there, and we'll just see what the difference is there. But no, like it is certainly true though that I've been a little obsessive with getting the Sage comics out, but also we have a fantasy project that is super exciting that we are, actively working on. We were going to release a preview of it last week, but it was kind of last minute. We decided that we needed a little more. We needed some proper world building for you guys, and the comic was really more of a character demo than a comic. So I took the advice of a couple people and held off on releasing that just yet. But I mostly want to show you guys what happens when you drop styles with the comic prompts here. And look at this. We had the style reference set to the style weight. I mean, set to 1,000 on Absolute Chaos, which show me what you got. And it evokes a little more of especially the first panel, evokes a little more of the Rick and Morty joke. But I really want to be able to have the comic. There we go. That's what look what I did here. Multiple comic panels is what I changed the prompt to after when doing a zoom. I dropped the styles to 65. It was at 1,000. Keep in mind, 1,000 created the really pretty image in the middle. But a lower stylize will actually take like the shorter or easier path to make an image. It won't like overly beautify or overly makes it complex. So what we get out of it is it more likely will just draw a line to separate two panels and then draw something new there, right? So we can effectively direct the before and after panels or neighboring panels to this comic here, because we can see the pattern that we see is we're getting successful multi-panel results, right? We're getting some cool fire effects and all that kind of stuff. But if we look at the original image, he's kind of crouching down there. So let's just say like he, let's see, multiple comic panels depicting him standing up slowly. Sure. And that will give us a little more direction on getting the character to maybe repeat a little better. And the main thing is the dropping of stylized, though. That really, really helps.
Oh, wait. I just noticed these show me what you got images are using the GIF I posted earlier into VC Create that I was working on as an SREF.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this show me what you there.
No, not that one. Not that one. No, I'm just gonna post the link again. Reply to this at Victor. Where is he? There.
Okay. Let's click that one. Take a look. Style reference.
Yes, ref.
Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah, it's your GIF, your firing GIF. That looks so good. It looks so good. Let me zoom in. Look how good that looks.
Yeah, I was so happy about that one.
Yeah, you should be. It looks great. Do you want to talk about how you built that?
Oh, well, it's a combination of a lot of things that I mixed together. So it's a lot of mid-journey work, of course, to get the original image, which I can also just post for you guys in a second. Yeah, and then basically took it into Pika. I took it also into Runway, because their motion brush, where you can define areas that should move and exclude other areas that should not move, is really useful in cases like this, where you don't want the character really to move but the background. And then I combined results and made it GIF. So that's basically how it went.
When you were combining results, did you do that in like Premiere, Photoshop?
After Effects.
After Effects. Yes, that's the right answer.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you need to be able to make dynamic masks and edit stuff, and
Premiere is really bad at dynamic masks, and Photoshop doesn't do proper video. It has a timeline feature, but it's more for making GIFs, or editing GIFs, than it is necessarily animating proper animation.
Yeah. So I can post the original for you into VC Create here. Yeah.
And just to show you guys, by the way, I definitely want to, while Rhapsody's pulling that up here, with the multi-panel result, the slowly getting up one, right? It actually evokes it pretty well on the first panel. And it just lets us be able to give us some level of direction. If we put more emphasis on, on now like the actions inside of each one of these panels, we could definitely in-paint our intent much closer. Masks are something that I think takes some time for people to get used to, because they don't necessarily get why you don't erase things. And I'm like, I understand. Like, yes, it takes up a lot more data, like on your hard drive to save every pixel basically for in history. By the way, I want you to guess at how big the most recent comic is, Rhapsody, in terms of gigs.
With your size things, and you never deleting stuff or reducing them down, throwing away other stuff that you don't need, I would guess it's like, I mean, how many files is it? Like
119.
what?
It's 119
Okay.
files, yes, but that's not the gigs. 119 files.
Yeah, that's on the gigs. I was thinking about Photoshop files that I could estimate it, but I would say about, I don't know. Are you reaching 100 now?
Well, no, not just yet, but I'm gonna post it here. It's
70. Yeah.
That's just the last comic, guys. 70 gigs for just the last comic. Okay. If I now,
It's more than a full-length movie. It is comparison, and there you have like, I don't know, 30 images per second. So
it's absurd. It's so absurd. But if I now go to my history, right? Like I'll go to my backup here, and I'm gonna grab all the previous parts as well and do the math for it. So 52. Let me open up a calculator because I'm gonna forget. Hold on. So we got 70 gigs, 52 gigs.
sometimes I wonder how you even have space left.
43 gigs for part 3, and then for the first part, it's 15.5. So the final for the entire Destiny arc, the entire going from Sage coming home that evening to them going out to the restaurant is 180.5 gigs. Just to give you guys some idea of how insane I am when it comes to making comics. like
That's a lot.
it's insane. It's insane, especially when you talk about the average comic is like a couple megs. You know what I mean? Like when you talk about a giant comic.
Cut off.
So,
My internet was cut off for a second.
oh no.
Oh no,
Oh no.
I'm here.
Let's see here. I'm going to hop us back over to the stage here. Okay, cool. So, let's see. Do we have any chatties here? Okay, so Zero said, trouble with which part? The turnaround, the character, or the layout? Okay, let's see what Fun Game Answer said. I do have a little struggle. Perhaps you got tips. Let's say I have an image with a character I like, but I have trouble making a character sheet of it. Maybe it's not really doable to try doing it in this order.
I mean, it is.
Yeah, I mean it's certainly doable. The main thing is, at least for me, when I get that kind of stuck on a character, I always just simplify the character art. Honestly, I know that that's like a sacrifice to your integrity, like to your creative integrity, especially as a traditional artist, where you're like, I drew this, I know it can work, it should be fine, but Midjourney doesn't understand it, and I can't, it just doesn't compute for me. It literally doesn't compute. The image doesn't make sense to Midjourney. That is a very frustrating reality when it comes to like traditional artists trying to get into this stuff, is that the trial and error part of it is more than frustrating when it comes to like, you're like, I could do this traditionally just fine, but I have to, I'm using this generator here and it's just not producing the same level of not continuity, but coherence of the image, of the character, of whatever. In my opinion, you start off with something simpler so you could see what works. You could see how you could get to your silhouette of your character. Like for Fungi Mancer, actually, he has a sloth character. I'll pop him open here real quick because this is pretty relevant. It kind of happened when we made his character. So inside of Gnarly Comics, we have the Chaos Portal, and inside the Chaos Portal, I'm just going to search the Fun Guy. I think let's actually sloth. Sloth Mage. That's right. I'll put Mage in there. I think that will probably pop him up. No? Okay. What's his name? Fungi Mancer. I forgot. Fungal Mancer. Okay. That's right. I spelled your name wrong on that. There you go. Fungal Mancer. There we go. And gifts galore inside of here. But if you notice, when we built his character sheet here, the main thing to kind of pull out of this was like, this is the final result after me doing a bunch of in painting and trying to get us a little closer on the character art and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of like weird overlaps when it comes to the coloring, like especially something like this, where there's a bit of a teal color with a white, kind of belly tunic kind of thing. I don't know how to describe that. And the cape is there, but it doesn't really make sense when it comes to like how it hangs over. It hangs over the shoulders here, but it doesn't hang over there. There are all sorts of little inconsistencies with this character, but it's okay because we found a level of coherence of when it was actually generated. Like when we smashed all these images together, it still gave us the same results again and again and again. The problem with that is that it also makes you compliant to like, okay, like this works. So I don't really want to get rid of it. I just want to tweak it a little bit and it'll work better. The reality is it's way better to actually just start fresh again, to make something else that may get you closer faster, as opposed to like pixel peeping these images.
Can you go up again? Yeah, right. This one here. That's also an important part of building a character sheet if it's difficult. Like this one has no resemblance to the character whatsoever. The only thing that is consistent is there are leaves and the shape is correct. Right. Like it's a weird kind of shape, but it's readable and it's good to fill it in later. And sometimes you get results like this and you disregard them because you think they look really bad, but they can be really, really useful later on when you refill like an area like this with your character shot that you have. And you can also do the stuff like I do and go the other way, where I have a difficult character that I want to recreate, and I just keep at doing it for as long as until it's totally 100% over engineered. And I presented it kind of in the tutorial session that I did a while ago on here, where it is about refining your intent in the image. So you start with what you have, and you try to generate more of the same thing, basically with slight variations. And then you combine them again and again and again until you have the intent you want. If we think back like a year, is it only a year or a year and a half, when no sref, no cref was available. Even before that, when we had we always kind of had image inputs, but like the main workflow when I started Midjourney was like you do the versioning until you get to the image that has the composition or the style that you want. Like do versions and versions and versions and versions. Press the buttons basically as long as you finally come to the image you want. And if it doesn't work, go back to the root, change something to your prompt a little bit, and then do it again. And the same workflow is still possible today if you include style and character references and combine them. And that way you can distill down your character that is hard to grasp for Midjourney to finally get it. And you just need one working prompt in the end to generate multiple angles, multiple expressions and stuff. And you can just do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree. I mean, like, especially like prior to CRF and SRF, the only real options that we had was your prompt is it's a very good spell, as you say, right? Like it just reliably produces what you expected.
Yes.
But the image prompting was something that, I started on very early with. I remember when I was sitting in the office hours and they announced the remix mode and I was squealing. Like I was so excited to start messing with remix mode. And in the middle of my squealing, I can hear David going, "Don't get too excited. It's what is it? It's meant to just nudge your images in one way or another." And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna nudge him. And yeah, I had a lot of fun discovering and writing the initial tutorial entirely around remix mode. It was definitely the highlight of the start of my generative career, I would say. Um, the initial tutorial I came out with is all focused on filmmaking, and in fact, those prompts are still extremely useful, even for the character stuff that we've been doing lately. But when it comes to like retaining a consistent character, like I would use that top left image to represent every behind the shoulder, over the shoulder shot back then, where I needed to force a character to show up as an over the shoulder. I would use something like that and build the shot in Photoshop and then run it through Midjourney and see how close I can get the image weights to really represent that. Because Midjourney doesn't really understand the phrasing over the shoulder because it's a filmmaking term, but when you take it literally, it puts a parrot on your shoulder, or something like that. So yeah, it's it is important to, like, you can bypass those weird language biases, those weird overlaps of language by using image prompts. I highly recommend that.
Right, and maybe coming back to Fungimancer's question, if you have that character and is really hard to reproduce, you need to first identify what is hard for Midjourney to reproduce in that, and then create content that you can input to make it more easy, more understandable. So you need to take an image, for example, and just erase stuff away that's not important. Reduce the noise out of the reference that you have, and keep things that you want. And if, let's say, there is a special type of arm that is really important for your character, like it's a squiggly tentacle type of arm that doesn't get reproduced very well because you always get an octopus in the end, just do that. Just make references for that arm instead of the whole character, and then use those references.
Or you could just try to like put the sloth head on a regular human body and then slowly add more and more parts that you can test whether or not Midjourney actually understands those changes that you've made.
Mm-hmm. And you can also then, when you have refined like these parts, input them into Describe, see if you get a nice spell out of it that reproduces it consistently, and then add that kind of wording to your future prompts, and suddenly things become more easy. So I usually these days I work with CREF and with SREF, and that gets me like 70% there. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes I just have characters where like Roxy, my potion drinking character that I'm working on forever now, and it's still not finished because I'm so into details with her.
Yeah.
Like
Claire is a hard thing for you, huh?
Yeah.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's the clean line aesthetic, or clean line. It's like what Tintin magazine, like the Tintin comics look. That look. It's very counterintuitive to AI imagery. That's why it can sit in the Holy Grail. Honestly.
Yeah, and I'm searching for that Holy Grail like hardcore. But she loses also. She loses regularly her elf-like pointy ears, and adding that as words then into the mix. Like I usually tell Midjourney, hey, she is a goblin girl with pale green skin and elf ears. And that fixes it completely. If I don't do that, I usually get her with like human ears, no matter how many references I put in. But elf ears is working really well. Yeah. Pale green skin is not a difficult prompt and easy to understand.
Anything not traditionally humanoid will require some amount of like you said, like spell, you need that assistance of latent space.
Right. And combining these things and just refining your intent so that Midjourney can understand it more easy is way better. And then you can also, and that's something I found useful. I never used it before much, but nowadays I do. Get a prompt that is somewhat working, turn chaos on, and go wild exploring into the unknown depths of faked creativity. And maybe you get something that is really helpful in the end.
It's hilarious. Yes, I love deep diving into chaos is basically just like random party mode, right? Like it does randomize the results super hard. Any amount of chaos, even down to value of 1, will do that. Okay. All right, guys. Well, we are coming towards the last 10 minutes of the show for tonight. I do want to say that we do have an after party that we do on my server. So if you want to come and jump on stage and talk to us, we'll be there. Where we can basically just make some cool stuff together. So like and chat and hang out and whatnot. So if you jump over to the server, Gnarly Comics, you'll see that on the left side here, you'll have our stage. The voice chat right here. Thank you for that, Rhapsody.
Of course.
And for let's see here. Okay, let's just jump in there. Just jump in there after we're done chatting here today. Okay, that'd be a lot of fun for especially if you have a project or you're doing something. We want to hear it. So, I'll let Kinky jump in there though.
Hello, it's me, Rhapsody. I'm here to tell you about Prompt Battles. If you guys aren't doing anything this weekend, it would be super fun if you came on by Prompt Battles. That's here on the Midjourney server. We do that from 11 a.m. Eastern to 10 p.m. I'm sorry, I'm reading. Wait, no, it's 11 a.m. Eastern to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard. And then on Sunday, it's from 3 p.m. to 6. I think these are backwards. That's weird. Oh, you know what I did? I read the wrong thing. The Prompt Battle starts at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, and it goes until 10. And then on Sundays, it's from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we'd love it if you came by. I was reading the description for a whole nother event, and that confused me.
We're all
But
okay.
right. I mean, it's like a different time for everybody everywhere anyway. But I hope you guys come by. Like, it's really fun, really nice. Everybody's very, very, very cool. And we'll help you prompt if you need any help. And if not, I mean, you can just win some fast hours and hang out with some nice people. Let me go ahead and throw the link into the room, and then you can see it in what time it is in your neck of the woods. Hold on.
Also, class, this is a homework now. Everybody go join at least one session of Prompt Battle. This is expected. Now.
It's actually the best way to learn the diversity of potential results. I think. I think it's a great way. To see just the sheer potentiality of Midjourney is through these sort of events. So the last hours that you guys have been hearing me has been only from my potentiality, my experiences. Prompt Battles is hundreds of potential people, all giving their own version of that. So yeah, it's definitely worth going.
So much fun.
Yeah. And usually when you see something in there that you really, really, really like, and you shoot a message to that person who made it, they will carefully and very detailed explain to you how it works and how they did it, and share the prompt with you and work with you together to get something similar. It's a great way to learn stuff.
Yeah, everyone's super enthusiastic.
And you get participation hours. So even if you don't win something, you get something. But you'll probably win something.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to round this off here by just thanking everybody for joining today. Oops, I turned off Rhapsody by accident. Hold on. No, she's gone. That's it. Okay, yeah, there you go. Okay, so I wanted to just thank you guys so much for joining here today.
It's your new version 1 now.
And when it comes to just everything that we kind of covered today, I know it was a little chaotic working with the Adobe Dimension and all this kind of stuff and whatnot, but I really wanted to show you guys just another tool, another way to do something. But when it comes to the next week, I honestly don't know what I'm doing next week, but the week after that, I will be releasing a collab with 2 other artists. This will be a pretty big collab. I'm sure that if it it's going to blow up on Reddit in big ways because it's 3 artists that are making it, but it features so many more. So I am very curious to see how this pans out and excited to share that with you guys then. But
It's
otherwise,
exciting.
we got a fantasy project that we're working on, which I purposely kind of danced around today because I felt like I've been repeating Phantasma stuff for multiple weeks now. So the subreddit is r-comics. The artists that are all involved there are generally anti-AI people, but they've been warming up to me. You know what I mean? And they've been okay with me being the AI guy for the most part. It's just really a matter of like, making sure that they understand that my intent isn't to trick them. I'm not trying to trick them into sharing AI generated content. I'm trying to give them a way for their fans to interact with their work without necessarily impacting their profiles or their accounts. So I never ask a traditional artist to upload a collab that I make with Midjourney because it's an integrity thing where it's like I have to establish like I'm the AI guy. You can upload that stuff to my account all day, but if you talk about a traditional artist, a vast majority of their fans may get upset. So I'm slowly becoming the depot when it comes to the subreddit. So if someone wants to talk about AI but doesn't want to post AI generated images on their profiles, they'll collaborate with me. And that's super cool. It's super fun. But I'll leave it at that, guys. Please come into the Gnarly Comics Discord and we'll just hang out after this. But thanks again to Rhapsody for coming on stage here and hanging out.
Thanks, Rhapsody.
Yeah, and of course to Kinky
Always.
H-It for hosting,
Always.
co-hosting with us and just making this place a warm and welcome place. So I'm just so happy to have all you guys.
We love having you guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you this weekend.
Awesome, guys. Well, we're gonna do a wiggle and we're gonna leave you guys. You guys have a good one, okay? Later.
I'm wiggling over here all by myself.
Yeah, right.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining.
Bye.
All right.